What's up, guys? It's Wolverine, that's Machine, Mr. GMSI himself, Brian Cage, and you're watching Tru Heel Heat. Who better? Nobody. This is the knockout artist, Chris Hero, and if you're looking for some Tru Heel Heat, you better listen to them boys. Rob Van Dam, listening to Tru Heel Heat. Pow!
This is M-Dog20, Matt Cross, and you're listening to Tru Heel Heat.
Hey everybody, Tony Schiavone of All Elite Wrestling, and this is Tru Heel Heat, and I said it right, you motherfuckers.
It is post-WrestleMania week, and we are not all talking about WWE and one of the greatest endings to a WrestleMania of all time. What WWE is coining the greatest WrestleMania of all time, the biggest WrestleMania of all time, where Cody Rhodes finished his story and ended the 1,316-day reign of Roman Reigns and potentially set up a match with The Rock at next year's WrestleMania. No! AEW decided to air the tape, roll the tape, and air the footage of CM Punk and Jack Perry's all-in backstage fight. We're going to talk about all about the fallout to that and ask the question, did AEW airing that footage backfire or was it successful? We'll talk about it, and we want to hear from you. It's the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast. Let's roll the tape. Hello. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom, SP3. We are live on the Tru Heel Heat, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for Tru Heel Heat 272 Perception War Misfire, discussing the latest wrestling news, including AEW's decision to air the CM Punk Jack Perry all-in footage on AEW Dynamite, WWE planning to do Cody Rhodes versus The Rock at WrestleMania 41, recap of this week in wrestling with WrestleMania 41 featuring Cody Rhodes finishing his story and becoming the undisputed WWE champion. The Raw after WrestleMania. You had SmackDown last night, NXT, AEW Dynamite, Rampage, Collision. ROH Supercard of Honor was last Friday, right after we did our flagship podcast. Well, we'll talk about that. NJPW, Sakura Genesis, and Windy City Riot with a brand new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion and the first ever global Grand Slam champion, Jon Moxley, defeating Tetsuya Naito and TNA Impact. I am joined this week by my colleague, my co-host here on the podcast. He was off last week because we moved dates, so he is back on a Saturday. It is the True Draw. Josh, how are you doing?
Doing great. Lots to talk about, especially about that Wednesday, huh?
Yeah. You had a lot of people who wanted you to come on Thursday to talk about it for some reason. I don't know why.
I mean, I guess they wanted me to clash with Jimmy because there was a lot of things I didn't necessarily agree with on him about, but that's nothing new. So I don't know why people are surprised.
It's kind of y'all report here on the channel. We appreciate y'all if you're joining us. This is our flagship podcast. We are usually here every Saturday, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. Last week, we changed up the day because of WrestleMania week with NXT Stand and Deliver and everything going on during WrestleMania week. We moved it to Friday. So go back if you haven't already. Go back and check out last week's episode so we can continue our streak. But you can check out this episode. Remember, show your appreciation back. Drop the thumbs up on this video. We appreciate that. That's the simplest way you can show your support to what we do here. But anyone who drops a thumbs up, sends a comment, sends a super chat, sends a comment in the live chat, or even just shares this video, we appreciate all of you and thank you all for joining us here at the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. And like I said before, sound off in the live chat. We love to interact with all of you. Highlight your comments on screen with us here. But if you want to make sure your comment is highlighted and that we read it out on screen, you can send a super chat donation. That is also important to what we do here. It gives back to all the contributors that you see on screen with us, and we always appreciate that. Or as Jimmy Macaram said, we broke sometimes, so we need the support. We appreciate y'all. We got Bala B in the chat, one of our members, one of our Patreon backers, who says we gotta have Chris Hero's intro for this episode. We love Chris Hero because he was feeling how we were feeling and rocking that pink shirt. He was the biggest victim he was the big victim out of that video. I was like, oh, poor Chris. Poor Chris. Did you say the same thing, Josh?
No, I just thought his reaction was more funny than anything. I really didn't put two to two together.
That man probably thought he was about to lose his job. He just got there.
Yeah, most likely, but sorry about that.
Your lack of concern for Chris Hero is very disturbing. Frantic World in the chat who says, "What's up, THH and chat?" Well, I think the tape worked because Jack got Chicago to hate and love him. That I think there is strong arguments on both ends. If you think that the AEW airing the tape backfired, if you think it was a success, I think there's arguments in both camps. We have Power Driver Finisher in the chat who says video is water under the bridge, in my opinion. Yeah, we talking about it now, but I think more stuff needs to go down for this to even be an issue. No, it's just a topic for the week. And like I said on a Ramble, what AEW needs is for AEW Dynasty to be another great pay-per-view. And no one will be thinking about the tape. No one will be talking about that at the end of the day. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I don't have doubts it's going to be a good pay-per-view. But what they really need is a great pay-per-view right now to kind of change the perception war that they decided to play here.
I agree. Yeah, I'm very mixed about the footage, to say the least. It's just know a lot of people compared it to like a finger poke with Doom. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I see why people would think that. But
Did you hear what I compared it to?
To what?
It felt very much to me like TNA in 2007. Like the best comparison I compared it to, if you wanted me to pinpoint an act, it felt very much like the Voodoo Kin Mafia move.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
And that's not what I wanted for AEW. I wanted better than TNA for AEW. That's why I am not in the positive camp, but I'm not in the completely negative as well.
Same thing. I'm honestly, I'm in the middle, because you know me, I like playing both sides of things. Like, hey, this is what they shouldn't have done, but then I get so I can't wait to talk about it. A lot of people have been asking me all week about it. What's my thoughts? What's my opinions? I gave a few of my thoughts, but I can't wait to talk about it on air. So people want to ask, I just clip it. I'm like, yo, here you go. This is what
exactly. Just clip, share. uh, Chuck Berry saying, good morning, y'all. And that's what you get, Jimmy. You got your ass whooped. Talking about Jimmy Uso. We'll talk about SmackDown on the show as well, which I'm sorry. I said it on Twitter. I will say it here right now at the top of the show. The best Bloodline segment that did not include Roman or Rock.
I agree.
It was so great. It made Solo look strong. It looked like a leader. It made Tama look great. And it puts Paul Heyman in the middle of it. We don't know if it's a Solo move, if it's a Rock move, if Tama was telling the truth when he said by orders of the tribe. Like it's so layered. It's great. Great stuff.
Yeah, I have a small nitpick, but I'll talk about it when it gets there.
We got Vala B in the chat who says, yeah, I'd say Jack Perry benefited the company. Some respect has been lost because it negatively affected their public perception, which, by the way, people should be reading Phil Lindsay's article. So shout outs to Phil Lindsay there. We got a super chat donation from Vala B as well. Thanks for starting us off strong, good brother. One of our top supporters here. He says, say what you will with the shows that happened this week. Windy City Riot was a great watch. Windy City Riot brought back like me enjoying wrestling again. Because the main issue that I had with this week's Dynamite is that it wasn't even them airing the footage. It was that you aired the footage, you knew more people would watch, and you didn't deliver a good show.
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I didn't pay attention after the tape.
Yeah, and that also did that. So, like, yeah, I can't say it's a success. I can't say it's a success for the company. I do agree with Vala B there, but Windy City Riot was a great watch. Like, I watched double screen, watching SmackDown and watching Windy City Riot for the first half of the show. But once SmackDown went off, I completely just put Windy City Riot on and paid attention to that. From the Jack Perry match with Shota Umino on, it's a hell of a show. Go out of your way to watch it. We'll talk about it a little bit later. We also got Power Driver Finisher says, bro, Chris Hero for work, AEW general manager. He's just constantly walking away from backstage fights. So he's basically Adam Pearce 2 years ago.
Oh my God. Probably.
We got Brooklyn Bleak who says, I love how Punk doing some shit in an organization is news. Hasn't something happened everywhere he's been? But Brooklyn Bleak, the reason that this is news is that AEW was about to be the first promotion that CM Punk ever left that didn't get constant CM Punk chants everywhere they went. WWE, that happened. Even in ROH, when he left, there were certain places that would chant CM Punk. Other than the weekend that he got fired, that was in his hometown of Chicago, we didn't hear not a one CM Punk chant. Maybe it was a vague one. Maybe it was something that started chants but immediately got barked down. But it wasn't like it was when he left WWE. And then it was because they did that segment.
Yeah,
so
that's it. I noticed it when the Bucks came out, right? That it happened.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, did it work? S. Jack says AEW dropped the ball on not showing real matches with good stories. Instead, they're leaning on drama for ranting. S. Jack, they're not even leaning on drama for ranting. It felt like a show that was more concerned on reacting than having a good show.
Yeah.
Because they do have good stories going on with Swerve and Samoa Joe and Ospreay and Dragon. There's good stuff going on, but they were too busy with reacting on this episode.
Yeah, and then also when it comes to AEW, it's such a weird thing because, right? We all know AEW is an alternative, right? They're gonna focus more on the in-ring stuff and the wrestling, which I'm completely fine with because it's like if I want to see another WWE, then I'm just not gonna watch the shit, right? That's just how I feel about it, right? WWE has a certain thing that they do. AEW has a certain, and I like that. I like something that's different, right? That's the whole point of an alternative. But then when an AEW does certain things, like certain segments, or they focus more on the promos, then there's always it's like a negative thing, which is like, this is what you fans wanted, they're doing it, and yet it's still a problem. So, but yeah, when they go back to the wrestling, oh, where's the stories? Why you guys are not focusing on the promos and the stories? But yeah, when you do it, it's still a problem. You know what I mean?
And that's why I go out of my way, like with the S. Jack. S. Jack. I know he's someone that has been critical in the past in the comments of AEW. I'm not trying to like correct anybody or dictate their opinion or their take. There's a way to kind of like the issues that I have with the episode is probably not the same issues that you have, but because we both don't like the episode, there's certain people that will just group us together and think we're saying the same thing when we're not. We're not saying the same thing. The issue with the episode was not them leaning on drama for ranting. It was that one, the camera work was awful. The camera that was some of the. But did you notice how bad the camera work was? Like that camera work in that Mercedes segment. This was the first time since he's been hired by All Elite Wrestling. I was like, oh yeah, Mike Manzuri was trained by Kevin Dunn. That's not a good thing. Yeah, that's not a good thing. And then the Mercedes thing has been something that I've been on for the last 3 weeks. Is that they don't seem like they know what they do at this point. It seems like they're just, what did it land on? Okay, Attack in the Dark. Cool, we're gonna do that this week. We'll get into that as well, but thank y'all for the comments. Y'all getting us started on a good tip on this flagship. Will Chisholm with a super Chisholm. Thank you so much, Will. He says, I think the tape will help Jack, but I don't know if it will help AEW show overall. As long as it helps Jack, as long as it helps something, and they can tell a coherent story. I said it on AE Ramble, I'll say it here. This story has to end with Jack Perry helping the Young Bucks win the AEW World Tag Team titles and joining the Elite.
That's the best option they could do. And then also, I mean, when it comes to the tape, I thought that's what they were leaning on, was helping Jack Perry. I didn't know it was gonna be like to this extent where they gave a chicken shit heel excuse of losing their match and All In. I didn't know they were going that route, which was pretty entertaining. But on hindsight, it in fact did help Jack Perry. His shirt scapegoat sold out, and he had the biggest reaction last night, and it was more positive than negative.
It was very much mixed with the cry me a river, which I was a part of the crowd that started that chant 8 months ago in Chicago. Shout out to the Shy. I was a part of the first crowd that did the old Cry Me a River. So I had a big smile on my face hearing that crowd in the Windy City chant that last night. You got scapegoat chants. You had like he was doing all the Punk mannerism. It was great.
Yeah, and then they did the chant, "Oh, you got choked out," and then people chanted,
"No, he did." Oh, we got another super chat donation here from Belle. Thank you so much, Belle. She says, I don't know about y'all, but I need WWE to mimic the whole thing with a backstage fight with Punk and Drew McIntyre. LOL. I just need Drew McIntyre to make a reference to it. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think I think them doing all that stuff, I think it would I don't know. I wouldn't agree with doing that. I think all you really need is Drew referencing it, and then that's it. Because that's what he's been doing. I don't think anything to reenact anything. I don't think it's really gonna do much. I think it's just probably gonna come off a little corny, at least to me. Not because of perception.
It would come off very billionaire Ted to me.
Yeah, and that's just like I don't need that. If you're gonna dunk on it, all you really need is a reference. All you need is some shit from Drew saying it. That's all you really need. I don't think you need anything to reenact, because honestly, if you reenact on it, then it kind of shows that you care a little bit more than you care more than what the perception is right now. So I don't think that's technically a good idea on their end.
Yeah, and then that eliminates what a lot of the WWE fans have as an argument. Oh, you're wasting TV time on this. That would be WWE wasting TV time to just throw a shot at AEW when they don't really need to. When you're up here, punching down is nasty. It just looks icky to me. Like the whole Triple H saying that whole shit about with the Will Ospreay interview, it felt gross to me. It felt like a guy. I said it on in the weeds yesterday. It felt like a guy on the street in New York with a group of his friends, and there's a couple of hot chicks that walk by, and they're like, hey ma, what's going on, ma? What's going on? And they completely ignore them and like go to different. Oh, she ain't shit anyway. She ugly anyway. That's what Triple H said. That's icky.
I wrote that last week. Remember, I wrote that last week. I was just like, "Yo, Trips did the fuck you too, bitch." Like, line. That's what he did. Which was like, it was lame. I thought it was lame on Trips' end, because I'm like, I thought that's like beneath him. But the fact that you didn't get a free agent, you didn't sign him, you didn't see his value, and he chose the other company who gave him more money. What's wrong with that? But then also when it comes to like, oh, you're not about the grind, you're not about this, then I don't want you here. It's all bullshit to me. Because it's like, you're going to tell me, a man who lives in the UK, who traveled to Japan, right, for 8 years, right, constantly, this was his thing. You're telling me he's not about the grind? Like, come on.
It was ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. And then the plausible deniability of some WWE fans. It's like, oh, you guys are assuming he's talking about Will. No, Will actually said what he was referencing. That's what he was referencing. He was referencing something Will actually said. Oh, he could be talking about Okada or Mercedes. Oh, that's fine if you think that. They didn't say that. Will did. Like, it's so annoying. The mental the mental loops that they will jump through just to avoid criticism of Triple H. It's funny.
Yeah, which I mean, even though it wasn't, we all know it was a direct shot. To me, it was a direct shot more so at Ospreay and Okada, both of them. I think that's a little more. Mercedes, the whole thing with Mercedes was that she was already there and she wanted more money, and they didn't want to give her that. So that's
Estat, you're once again falling into the trap of being too anti AEW. He said Triple H did go low, but when you get the bite, you're already setting yourself up for failure. He says it was on a podcast. It was not on a podcast. It was on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN, watched by more people than WWE and AEW. More than WWE and AEW. So you're already wrong. Not their live WWE TV. AEW wastes live TV time to bring up WWE constantly. No, they did it constantly on this week's show. They don't do it constantly. But I understand you're anti AEW. We get it. But we also got senior nerd.
Yeah, see? Like, no, I'm saying like that's part of the problem too of a lot of fans. Like that kind of thinking. That's why the perception is where it is now. And it's like, bro, like, what are you talking about? Like, constantly. What's your definition of constantly? Because I don't see it. Yeah. I don't see it. If anything, WWE has done it more than AEW as of late. Are we going to pretend that we don't hear Michael Cole on commentary when he takes certain shots and certain zingers? Like, they all do it. And to me, I don't give a fuck. Like, to me, I don't see a problem with it, right? To me, it's just like, whatever. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. That's how I see it. So it doesn't bother me when either side does it. But my thing is, if you're gonna dunk on one side for doing it, then you gotta bring up when the other side does it as well.
Yeah. I there's a certain not a lot of same energy And I call out all of them. I criticized AEW this week. I'm criticizing Triple H for punching down because I made the reference on Twitter. I was like, did the Kansas City Chiefs talk about the New York Jets like this during Super Bowl week? No, they just focus on Super Bowl week. That's what you should have done. We got a super chat donation here from Brooklyn Bleak. We thank you so much, Brooklyn Bleak. He says, if TKA was smart and petty, he would have tracked down that wannabe female wrestler Punk and Colt joked about taking advantage of in that interview. Wow. That's okay. That's dark.
That would have been worse.
You take it dark.
That would have been worse. Like, yo, what the fuck? Yo, damn. I don't know what to say to that one.
He went really dark. Oh man, but we got to shout out our Tru Heel roll call. Those are supporting us over at Facebook on our Facebook group page. Thank you so much to our top 3 conversation starters: Jermaine Packman at number 3, number 2 Fozzie LaFour, and number 1 Stewie John Palmer. We got to also shout out our Patreon backers: Vala B, Alan Weinstein, Negro Buck Nick Jackson, Alex McCarthy, Professor Chris, Austin K, Robert, Steve, Fifth Generation Carney, Ladarius, John aka WrestleScopes, Dan Snide, Kobe, Dolores, John Martin, DJ Eric, Marcus Ryan, James, Alan Santo, Queen Monet, Christopher and Victoria Kid, and Nick Tim. Thank you so much for supporting us over at patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. But let's get into what we missed, Josh, and let's talk about WrestleMania 40 one last time. Wrap it all up in a bow, starting off with night 1. The show featured The Rock and Roman Reigns defeating Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins in a great main event tag team matchup to make night 2's main event Bloodline rules. We had The Rock getting speared by Roman at one point, Cody delivering a rock bottom through the table, but in the end, after a spear on Seth through the barricade, it was Rock with the weight belt, Roman with the spear, Rock with a rock bottom and people's elbow, and The Rock and Roman Reigns. Rock pinning Cody Rhodes, as predicted by one of the co-hosts on the show. I'll let y'all guess who it was. Also, you had Sami Zayn beat Gunther to end his 666-day reign and win the Intercontinental Championship in what was a fantastic encounter here with Sami busting out the brain buster. We also had Rhea Ripley defeat Becky Lynch to retain the WWE Women's World Championship in an excellent opener to the show. Awesome Truth won the Raw Tag Team titles, while A-Town Down Under retrieved the SmackDown Tag Team titles in what was an awesome six-pack ladder match. And then you had Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair, the big 3. They picked up a win over Damage Control in a pretty fun trios matchup. And you also had Jay and Jimmy Uso in quite possibly the most disappointing brother versus brother matchup in WrestleMania history. Jay won. Congrats. Night 2, the show featured Drew McIntyre beating Seth freaking Rollins in a fun opener to win the World Heavyweight Championship. However, Drew mocked and got into the face of CM Punk on commentary, who responded by tripping McIntyre and hitting him with his arm brace. This led to Damian Priest coming down to cash in his Money in the Bank contract to defeat Drew McIntyre and win the World Heavyweight Championship. Bayley beat Io Sky in what was a tremendous bout to win the WWE Women's Championship. Logan Paul retained the United States Championship in an awesome triple threat match as he defeated Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, with I Show Speed making a guest appearance in that one. And of course, night 2 of WrestleMania ended with Cody Rhodes defeating Roman Reigns to finally finish his story, ending Roman's 1,316-day reign and win the undisputed WWE Universal Championship in what was an incredible main event that saw run-ins from the Usos, John Cena, The Rock, The Undertaker, all for Roman Reigns to make the decision to choose revenge over retaining his Universal Championship, hitting Seth Rollins in the back with a chair as Seth was dressed as a member of the Shield, and then Cody hitting 3 crossroads to win the championship. Post-match, Cody celebrated with a group of baby faces and called down Bruce Pritchard and Triple H, thanking them for this moment and the mark of a new era. So you had a week to sleep on it, Josh. Where do you think WrestleMania 40 ranks all time, and just your overall thoughts as you now you've had a week to kind of sleep on it and think about it?
WrestleMania 40 is definitely up there, I would say. This was the first 2-night show that we had night 2 being better than night 1. It's hard for me because it's like, if I want to consider an all-time Mania, I really do think if you're going to go this route of doing 2 nights, which I actually love, I prefer the 2 nights. I think both nights have to be very strong. It has to be almost bulletproof for me to say, like, all right, this is the greatest WrestleMania of all time, or like something to that extent. Usually when it's lopsided, then I can't really say that. But like I said, night 2 definitely made up for what night 1 lacked. Night 1 did have a great main event in its own right. The IC title match was also great. But then we had that fucking dud of a match, brother versus brother. That was so bad. And I think that the reason why we're dunking on it the way that we are is because this was a match that, remember, they were pushing. This is what they wanted. And when the idea came about, everyone was like, oh, this is going to be some great shit because the Bloodline storyline is the greatest storyline of all time. So this is just going to add to it. And it didn't. It didn't add to it in the build. It didn't add to it in the match. It hurt the fucking match itself. I think the match was worse than the fucking build-up, to be honest with you. Like, that's how bad it was.
I don't know about that, but I mean, that's an argument.
I mean, it just felt like that because honestly, right, you can have a bad build-up, but once you kill it in the match, then it's like, at least it kind of eases off on the build-up, right? It's like when we had Rhea and Charlotte, that fucking build-up was trash, but both ladies killed it. That nobody even talks about the build-up, and they could have done that there. It didn't happen, unfortunately. But when it comes to the ending itself, like, is it the greatest ending of WrestleMania? It's pretty up there. I had to see a lot of great endings for WrestleMania to really put my thoughts to that. But the way it ended, the way that Roman lost his belt, it meant something. And that's what I was telling people too. When Roman loses his belt, it has to mean something. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it on a random card. You're not going to do it anywhere but Russell. He was not losing the belt anywhere else, in my opinion, because that would have been a wet fart, in my opinion. So him losing it at Mania, the fashion that he lost to that, it meant something. The loss did mean something. So I was happy about that. And then obviously Cody finally getting his moment, finally a Rhodes finally getting the WWE World Championship. It meant something, all that stuff. It means something. And you already know, I have a personal connection with Cody. So it felt different because of that, because I've always been a fan of his, and to see where he's gone through and then to finally happen, something I thought that was never going to happen, to finally happen. I mean, it feels good. Now it's more of what's next? What's going to happen going forward? Are they going to make him look like a strong champion? Those are just stuff we have to wait and see.
Yeah, we got to see if they really, handed the keys. That's what it felt like. It felt like they were handing the keys to the castle, crowning him the next top guy of this company. And it was in a matchup that felt like a celebration, not just of, Roman and this iconic title run that he had, but it felt like a 40-year celebration of WrestleMania with Cena out there, with The Rock out there, with The Undertaker out there. That's why I went 5 stars for that matchup. And I think that even me, as a Bryan Danielson fan, with years of not liking Cody Rhodes because he chose to flip me off instead of too sweeting me, I can say That's the best ending to a WrestleMania ever because it felt very meta. It felt very much like it, and I said it like the way I control Cody fans like Josh here is I could say, it's really nice because I always wanted to see him finish his story, and he never got a chance to really have a moment at the end of a WrestleMania where he wasn't getting overshadowed by anyone else. So I'm so glad that Paul Levesque got to finish his story and he got the victory and he stood tall at the end of WrestleMania because Cody finished his damn story. And who's the first motherfucker he's calling out here to be like, no, he's the real winner. It's the Triple H era. It's the Paul Levesque era. They can't even decide what this dude's name is.
I fucking hate that shit so much. It's like, can we just not call it a fucking name era? Like, can we just call it the Renaissance era? I was fine with that. Like, can we just stick to that?
The grinding era. The grinding era. I will say, I am.
You know, it's funny when you say that. Like when they were calling out Triple H, I was like, oh, here it goes, Triple H trying to grandstand again.
Yo, it did feel like that. It did like I said, because they went a full year of making changes and we got to see the changes. When they said, a new era, I didn't have PTSD of other times that they said it was a new era. I was like, oh, it's a new era. Yeah, I kind of believe you because I've seen it. It is a new era. It is a new change. But I'll be honest, Triple H coming down at the end of WrestleMania and being a part of Cody's moment, that I think that it would have been fine if we just closed the show with him getting on the mic and being like, I want to thank my mom. I want to thank Brandy for being there. I want to thank all my friends here in the ring. I want to thank the fans. I want to thank Triple H and Bruce Pritchard in the back because they made this possible. But most of all, I want to thank my dad. Thank you, Dad. This is for you. And that's how the show ends. I don't need Bruce Pritchard because you could have heard a fucking pin drop in 65,000 people when they were like, Cody, we like you, but we're not cheering for Bruce Pritchard. That's basically what they tell Cody. And then Triple H coming out is like, dude, I've heard all weekend. Everybody's sucking your dick. Like, I don't need that right now. This should be about Cody.
To be honest with you, that's kind of what I really didn't like about Paul Heyman's speech, where it's like the constant dick sucking that he was doing on certain things. And he brings up Triple H. I'm just like, what are we doing, bro? Like, you're just doing it to kiss his ass. And then I get it. It was a nice moment, but it's just like this shit again. Like, are we going to keep doing this? Like, which again, he's done an incredible job. I'm not taking away from what Triple H has done. It's just, it's kind of coming overbearing now. It's just like, oh my God, like, what are we doing at this point? That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. It's just like I have PTSD because everything that has become popular or been the hot thing in WWE for what feels like the past 25 years, Triple H has found a way to put his nose into it in WWE. Anything that's hot, Michaels was hot at the time because he was kind of going into the heel, and then Triple H gets with him. And they become DX. Yeah, that became a popular hot thing, but let's not take away the fact that Shawn Michaels was the hot thing and he propped up Triple H. So, yeah, it's like, I don't know. Maybe I have PTSD from seeing Triple H's career.
And then to Triple H's credit, once he was given the reins of running DX, it was a fun thing. Like, it really elevated him. And we're kind of seeing the same thing now. Like he takes over creative, and guess what? WWE is at the hottest it's ever been. So it's like usually when he gets inherited something, he works his ass off. So
yeah,
something like that I would never take away from. But I do get like, oh yeah, he's doing like I do get the sense of like what you said. So I 100% agree when it comes to that.
But all props and praise to him because, like I said, they had a WrestleMania where you got Cody finishing his story. You had Bayley, who I didn't think was going to be the hot baby face that was ready to win the championship when the bell rang on Sunday. that crowd loved Bayley, and it felt like that was the best women's matchup of WrestleMania weekend. She got to have a big crowning moment on night one. Sammy ending the 666-day reign of Gunther in an absolutely fabulous professional wrestling matchup, with the big moment with the brainbuster at the end and him winning the championship. Rhea Ripley having her moment on the first night. The whole entire booking of Drew, Seth, Punk, and Damian Priest cashing in Money in the Bank was absolutely superb. And just like, it felt very connective. This was the first time that both night one and night two felt connected. It felt like we were almost there at 39, but then they fell short of really connecting it by having Cody win. And then they really connected 40 by having night one have consequences for night two, and it just comes into one, where WrestleMania 40, I said, like, overall, I would say it's a 9 out of 10 for both nights.
I would say so. I'd give like 8.5. Overall, I was about 8.5. I think that's a strong show because you had two strong openings, in my opinion. Two strong openings, two strong main events, and then you had some good stuff in between. Because again, Sammy and Gunther was a classic, especially the story that both guys told in the ring. Gunther got completely dominant and he got way too cocky to the point that Sammy, exposed it. Gunther could have finished the match, and he got overly confident, and that was his downfall to his match. And then Sammy busted out a move that he hasn't done since being in WWE, and that was basically the biggest factor of him winning the match. Like, that was a good fucking match, in my opinion.
There was just some great story beats, like that story beat, and Roman choosing to hit Seth instead of hitting Cody. Might have been my favorite story beats of the whole entire weekend. It's Sammy busting out a move that Gunther wasn't ready for, and I like Heyman talking about how Roman held this grudge for 10 years and he had to get it out of his system. Dude, he beat the hell out of him like 2 years ago. How is it not out of his system yet?
Yeah, that part was like a little weird. When Heyman mentioned that, but I'm just like, bro, like, didn't he beat the shit out of Seth Rollins in the Royal Rumble, right? It was Rumble, right?
Royal Rumble 2022. But it's just like
because he didn't let go of the chokehold, and he lost the match because of that.
But they can complete this by just having like Roman say like he has to beat Seth to finally, because he's never beat him in a big time match.
Yeah.
So that could be his whole thing, to get the Seth monkey off of his back finally. But we got to talk about the news. We got Wrestling Lowdown show in the chat. Good seeing you, good brother. He says they did overdo Triple H era mentioning, but they are trying to wash away the Vince situation and keep saying pro wrestling instead of sports entertainment. You think? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that big change. Them Michael Cole uttering the words "I love professional wrestling" at the end of WrestleMania. What did you think about that change? And did it catch you off guard? I can like pinpoint all the moments where I was like, oh, Vince is really, really gone. There was a couple of moments over WrestleMania weekend where I was like, oh, Vince is really, really gone. It was Stephanie showing up on night two. And it was the booking of night two also, and then the last line from Michael Cole where I was like, yeah, this really does feel like Vince is really, really gone. I don't need you to say it a million times though.
Yeah, I think for me it was more of this is a new era for them, because to me the clarification for me that he was really gone was Royal Rumble, when TNA was mentioned multiple times and you had Jordan Gray show up on the Royal Rumble. To me, that was like more confirmation, like, oh yeah, Vince is really gone. But WrestleMania weekend, it was more of like, oh wow, this is the direction that they're going now. That's how it felt to me. Yeah, like it's kind of crazy when he said professional wrestling, right? Like when he said that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, but then also he said it when Cody was there, and Cody was allowed to say pro wrestling. So
yeah,
it can mean one thing, but I think if it's constantly used, then that's when like, oh shit, like this is where they're going. Which I don't mind the term sports entertainment, but Professor Chris did make a good point, and this is where I stand on it. Where it's like WWE try to get rid of like the wrestling word, which is like so ridiculous because it's in their fucking name, right? World Wrestling Entertainment, like it's in their fucking name, but on TV you can't say pro wrestling. When you try to change something like that, and it's like, come on, like what are we doing? Like what we're watching wrestling, like. Yeah, you're doing segments, but you're still doing matches. Like people are paying tickets to see matches. It's fucking pro wrestling. That's what it is. Like, can we stop this shit that you're trying to make it something that it's not? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you got your own thing, but come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel. It is what it is. We got another super chat donation from Chuck Berries. Thank you so much, Chuck Berries. He says, I have to say this, fellas, but Samantha Irvin, who is the best ring announcer right now, sorry, I mean is. Yeah, I think she is the best ring announcer now, and it's mainly because she shows a lot of emotion, passion, and enthusiasm in her ring announcing, and you can tell she's very happy to be there, and she feels like she's a part of a team and she is contributing to it, and that's very cool. It's very much kind of Lillian Garcia on steroids vibes for Samantha Irvin, because Lillian Garcia had those vibes, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is with Samantha.
Yeah, I think I mean she's good right now. Yeah. I know a lot of people are considering her the GOAT now. I think that's a bit of a stretch, in my opinion. To me, I think Howard Finkel's still the GOAT for WWE. That's just my opinion because I grew up on Howard Finkel. But I do agree, like she shows a lot of emotions. However, I do think that's why she gets the pushback that she gets because WWE focuses so much on it, which they've never done before, and I think that's why there's been some pushback on it. I know a lot of people are trying to use the whole she dates Ricochet. I mean, people are upset about that, and that's just weird to my opinion. Even though I think Ricochet is a cuck, but that's another story for another day.
Jesus, do we need a disclaimer for Josh now?
I'm just saying he is like it's proven facts. I'm just saying, but besides that, I mean, yeah, she's great at her job. So, there's not much to say after that. Like, and I know she got emotional as fuck because when she was announcing Coach, she was fucking crying. Yeah. So then it sounded way off. I was like, why did I know?
I knew it immediately. I knew it immediately that she was crying. I was like, oh, Samantha's crying.
When she cut off, like when she was trying to say the words, she cut off. I was like, I thought it was like an error or something because we were doing a watch along, so I couldn't really hear it. And I was just like, was that somebody else who announced it?
No, I was like, nah, that's definitely Samantha. I was like, oh, Samantha's crying. She's getting emotional for this. But you could tell that's how you could tell she's actually a wrestling fan as well, which is very nice. Whenever the people working that you see are wrestling fans, there's a certain level of passion and care that they put into their work, and I appreciate that in Samantha. So thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the comment, Chuck Berries. Keep coming with those comments. Keep coming with those super chat donations. But we got to talk about the news coming out of WrestleMania 40. While no one can seem to agree on a name, it was clear during WrestleMania weekend that WWE is pushing this as a new era for the company. Fightful Select reports that this is all part of a plan for the company to distance itself from the Vince McMahon era. And now that he is gone from the company, McMahon has been accused of sex trafficking and sexual assault and more in a lawsuit from former staffer Janelle Grant, and is also under federal investigation. He left the company earlier this year and has denied any wrongdoing. However, WWE is still hoping to create separation and wants to establish that Vince is gone and he is not coming back. As noted, there were many in WWE who were looking forward to this year's event being the first without Vince involved. Prior to his resignation, McMahon had left the company from August until mid-December 2022, but then he returned and was making decisions remotely. Now that he is gone, many of his rules and ways of doing things are gone as well. Ibu of WrestlePurist noted that a WWE source said that the company was deliberately moving away from the terminology of sports entertainment. While a rule hasn't been officially given to anyone, a source noted that pro wrestling itself is no longer considered a dirty word. In fact, there aren't many dirty words, and those do exist are said anyway. McMahon himself is now a dirty word, it seems, as WWE does not want him referenced by name on their shows or featured in archive footage if possible. One change from Vince's time is Cody calling Bruce Pritchard and Triple H to the ring at WrestleMania. The two weren't expecting it, and it's something McMahon would have been against. Some fans expressed concern that Pritchard, who acted as McMahon's proxy in the past, could possibly have had knowledge of McMahon's actions. That same concern was shared about Nick Khan. However, one source noted that if that turns out to be the case, nobody is indispensable as it relates to this. It was noted that WWE is not only surviving but thriving without McMahon, John Laurinaitis, or Kevin Dunn, who left for unrelated reasons. WWE talent were told that Endeavor believes anyone can be replaced, even important figures. And going into Monday's Raw, there was the thought that it would have been much better without him involved. Talking about Bruce Pritchard, talking about Vince McMahon, excuse me. The year before, Vince showed up and tore up the script and wrote a new one, and that ended up being what aired. And those involved with Monday's episode were optimistic going on, as they believed it would be fun and the show that changed things forever. A producer noted that the most successful periods of WWE were babyface periods where fans were passionate about talent and they were rewarded. And this weekend felt like that. So, are you a proponent for this new era? And how long do you expect this new era to go on? Because, for the past 30 years, we've all talked about the Attitude Era. The Attitude Era only lasted about 3-4 years. like it's crazy to say that 20-something years later, but it was not a very long time. Like the periods that go on long in WWE are periods where it's not hot. The hot periods are very short windows. Attitude Era, it was 3 to 4 years. The Golden Age, it was a little bit longer. It was like 7-8 years of the Golden Age with Hogan on top and the start of the WrestleMania era. So there's different periods, there's different times. How long do you think this new era, the Paul Levesque, Triple H, Renaissance era, is going to last?
I think that's a good question, to be honest with you. It has potential to last longer than the Attitude Era, just because a lot of the stuff that they're doing now, it's very, you could go to what you're doing now into further. You could go further out. With the Attitude Era, again, it was a lot of edgy shit that they got away with that you can't get away with now. And I think that's why it had the short window that it did. But then also, once you're getting sponsors, you're getting deals like that, that affects your product. And within WWE, once Vince wanted to take the company to a certain direction, that's what started happening. All right, we got to start cutting out this stuff. We got to stop doing this. We got to stop doing that. WWE is at a place right now that they necessarily don't have to cut out a lot of stuff. So it could go pretty long. I don't know how long, but maybe I would say about 4 or 5 years. I think that's a good stretch.
Yeah, I could see this lasting the entire possibly most of the duration of their Netflix deal, because they're going from strength to strength. This whole run of the hot streak really started at WrestleMania 38 2 years ago. That was the first one where they got the whole press release talking about that was the most watched WrestleMania. And then that started the streak of every premium live event pretty much in 2022. They kept saying, this is the most watched SummerSlam of all time. This is the most watched Survivor Series of all time. Then in 2023, it was all the big live event selling out and stuff like that. And then the end of 2023 to the start of 2024, it's the big TV deals being announced and going to Netflix. So they're going from strength to strength to strength. There's 3 years now where I don't see it ending this year for sure. I don't see it ending next year with them going to Netflix, and the year after that when Netflix could potentially be WWE could be on Netflix everywhere in 2026. This seems like this is going to be at least a 10-year run.
It could be. And like I said, like that's because again, they're doing stuff right now that they necessarily don't need to clean up. And I think that's the biggest thing that could really help them, right? Like in my opinion, that could really help them. It's just a matter of what they do. It's a matter of, you know, all these storylines and all this stuff. You could be at the hottest, but then just like that, you could be a sinking ship. I don't see that happening anytime soon. But then also a lot of the stuff that they're doing, like the premium live events, right? That like you just mentioned, they're also doing it overseas. So they're also building on that as well. So again, they're doing things that they weren't doing back then. That the reason why this has potential of going a lot longer than that.
Probably should have finished. Could you imagine Punk gets in a backstage fight in WWE and ends the Paul Levesque era? I think that they are even CM Punk proof at this point.
Yeah, you know what it is. So CM Punk in WWE, he's like the like the shot collar. That's basically what CM Punk is. The moment
they got him on Slave Island, like the fucking episode of X-Men the animated series. Got him with the collars that subdue his powers.
Yep, they're gonna keep doing it. They're gonna keep shocking him. The moment that they feel like he's about to start a fight, like turn it on. They're gonna stop him.
No, we got Follow B says in AEW at Cody's only mission, he was doing something that wasn't working, and the fans caught on. Yeah, 100%, 100% on that one. Yeah,
even I've said that. Even I've said that. Like the whole gatekeeping didn't help. Him removing the whole title picture from his thing that he could never go for it. There was a lot of shit that happened with Cody that it wasn't so much like, oh, fans didn't want him in AEW. It was the shit that he started doing wasn't working for them. Like for the bigger audience that they were looking for, it happens, you know? And he's admitted to that. So, yeah.
Yeah. We also got here in the chat, Big Man Dog says CM Punk is Magneto in that plastic prison. He would be Magneto in that situation for sure. Which they say a CM Punk ending the Paul Levesque era would be the greatest thing CM Punk would ever do if it happened. Honestly, it would be long-term storytelling.
Imagine he was like the Trojan horse. I'm just saying.
Word, imagine they say go over there. They're gonna think it's all good. You know, they're all successful, and then out of nowhere, just punch Roman Reigns in the face.
Oh man, that would be nuclear. That would be holy shit. Even though I honestly think Roman Reigns could beat the shit out of him, but
Roman Reigns would fold. He would fold CM Punk in two. The main event of WrestleMania 40 featured cameos from John Cena and The Undertaker, who took out the Bloodline to help Cody Rhodes win. The Undertaker, however, was not originally planned to attack The Rock. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Stone Cold Steve Austin was originally planned for that spot, as he would have come out to give Rock a stunner. It was noted that WWE and Austin couldn't reach an agreement on financial terms, so Undertaker was put in that position instead. And it's basically exactly what we said on the review, Josh. It was like they probably didn't want to add a zero to what they were going to offer Austin. That's why he didn't show up, and that's why I was still fine with MAGA Taker being here.
Yeah, I mean, it still ended up being a good spot. Would I have preferred Austin? Absolutely, because that was The Rock's biggest nemesis. I wouldn't even say rival, because the rivalry was so lopsided. So I wouldn't even call it that. I'll call it his biggest nemesis.
But it's one of the most iconic WrestleMania rivalries of all time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then you know,
that's really, honestly, they have another iconic WrestleMania rivalry that they've added to their list the last 2 years with Cody and Roman.
Yeah, I mean, again, like it was good. And then, you know, Taker, I mean, WrestleMania without like Taker is a big, he's a big figure when it comes to WrestleMania, because he had that streak going on. And then his last match was at a WrestleMania, regardless of there was no crowd or not, was at a WrestleMania. So at least you got somebody that's connected with WrestleMania, and I think like that was the best option you could go on. When in regards to Stone Cold, I told everybody all the time, I'm like, Stone Cold is not. I told everybody all the time, if the story doesn't make any sense, or if he's not getting the money, Stone Cold's not going to do it. That's just how he is. It don't matter of the moment. It don't matter. Like, that's just how he rolls now, and I respect. I respect the shit out
That's
of it.
kind of how he always rolled. If you
Yeah, it's
don't
basically
make
my
money
dad.
and cents, he'll pick
No,
up
but
his
like,
ball and go home.
yeah, exactly, man. I'm like, but even so more now, because you know how people are like, oh, but why don't you just show up? Like, they'll give you anything. But I'm like, no, they ain't giving you anything. You ain't gonna show up. Fuck that. And that's what he's doing. Like, that's always how he's rolled. Like, and I fucks with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a good thing. Just like last year, he was plan B, and he was like, I'm not doing it.
Yes.
Right? He was right, and he didn't do it. He didn't do the
Yeah.
WrestleMania match.
He was like, I'm
So,
not gonna come in as a plan B. Fuck that.
yeah, so it's like again, I would have loved Austin at that moment, but Taker did his job. That's how I will say. Like, he did, and it was a cool moment. It was funny because the way The Rock reacted to it, that's what made it good too. Like the way the Rock reacted to it, and he didn't grandstand. So I appreciate Dwayne as well. He didn't grandstand that main event, and which I was
Neither
afraid
did
of.
Cena. Neither did Cena. So
None
I'll
of
give
them
it
did,
both of
and
them.
that's why that was perfect. Why? Because it was a great worked match, and everything else, the fuckery just came after the 20 minutes. So that's what you need to see.
And it came in naturally, and that's
Yeah,
another thing. It didn't feel like convoluted and forced like
it didn't feel
SummerSlam
forced.
last
Yeah,
year.
like it was like 5 minutes in, and then they would have done it. Then I think that would have been ass. I think the match
Yeah,
would have been clusterfuck.
I agree with you. We got another super chat donation here from Will Chisholm. Thank you so much, Will. He says we know Punk is playing nice, so when the time comes, HBK gives him the NXT job. Yeah, he's thinking about the next job. He's working this job to prep for the next job.
Oh
He's
yeah,
like,
you see him
I'm
already
gonna
hanging
make
out.
this money off of the merch, and then I'm gonna get my NXT job. I can sit at home.
Yeah, yeah,
Look pretty.
and then you see him hanging out with the young lioness from NXT already. Like, I know what he's doing. He ain't slick. That man ain't slick. I see you, Phil.
We know your resume, Phil. We know your resume, sir. The new World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest will remain in WWE for a little while longer during a digital exclusive following Monday Night Raw. Damian Priest revealed that he has signed a new contract with the company. He also spoke about his first title defense, which will be against Jey Uso at an unnamed date. When Kathy Kelly mentioned he did the vocals for his new theme song, he said, yeah, that's another first for me. This has been already a great year for me. New contract, new title, new theme music, voiced by yours truly. Judgment Day's on fire. Main event Jey Uso, let me be the first to congratulate you on earning the first shot at my World Heavyweight Championship, but don't get carried away with the celebration because when the match happens, I'm going to beat the yeet out of you. What do you think about Damian Priest, the new World Heavyweight Champion, and signing a new deal with WWE? You, like me, have seen the Damian Priest journey from before WWE, starting off in Ring of Honor, really starting off as like a young lion in the ROH system and grew from there, became Ring of Honor World Television Champion, got signed to WWE, worked the developmental scene in NXT, developing the Damian Priest character, eventually winning North American Gold there, called up to the main roster, had to be under Vince for a while, so you know how that's going to go. But the light at the end of the tunnel, and here he is now, World Heavyweight Champion. What did you think?
I mean, overall, it's pretty incredible. For one, I didn't expect the cash in to happen at WrestleMania, so that's why it was a nice surprise for me. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's gonna cash in. He's gonna cash in." It was just the momentum. I think that's what it was for me. I felt like there was no momentum for him. So for him to cash in, it's a great moment. But overall, like you just said, when it comes to Damian Priest, aka Punishment Martinez, this was a guy who came into WWE with zero expectations. Like, he didn't expect to succeed and he didn't need to. Like, he had nothing to lose because in Ring of Honor, he had some good stuff. He had some good matches, but he just wasn't that guy that's going to carry a company. It is what it is. Like, he was a mid Carter. He had a presence with him. Like, he
But
did
he
some
was still
cool
green.
moves. Yeah, exactly. Like, he did some some cool moves for somebody his size and his age. Because people forget he's past 40 now.
Yeah.
So he is older. He's an older guy. So in the Ring of Honor, they never used him to that extent. And WWE, I knew like the biggest difference with him was that he felt more confident. And I like the fact that when he started talking more, he implemented his Spanish more with his talking. And I thought that really elevated him. Like he felt more comfortable doing that. But also it was just one of those things where, again, like this guy worked his ass off. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, because people, again, I know how people are happy because he's Puerto Rican. I'm also half Puerto Rican. So I understand that, but I think also I want people to see the journey of it, like where he had to go to get to where he's at now. I mean, it's incredible stuff. Like you can't really take away from the guy at all. Like what he had to do. He worked with Bad Bunny, like worked with Bad Bunny in a tag match and in a singles match. Like that's a lot of faith for somebody. Like Bad Bunny.
But that match changed his whole year. Like that's the match that I think when WWE was like, okay, we got something here.
Yep. And I felt like that. And again, it took for one person to really believe in him, and that was Triple H. For him to finally get the briefcase, which I thought was a nice move, because I didn't expect him to get the briefcase and then to finally cash in. I mean, right now, man, he's on cloud nine. I'm really happy for the dude. And he's also from the South Bronx, like me. I grew up.
Yes.
I was born and raised in the South Bronx. He also was too. So, I mean, you can't get any better than that.
Hey, I got a place in the South Bronx, so much respect to Damian Priest, Punishment Martinez, however you want to refer to him, and very nice WWE put up a behind the scenes of his WrestleMania Sunday with him celebrating with his family and celebrating with the Judgment Day. Really nice if you haven't watched it already. And that, it was great for WWE to give him the moment. Now I'm just worried about the follow up. You got to follow it up to really establish him as a main eventer. You gave him a great moment, but that great moment doesn't cement him as a main eventer. Just so WWE realize that.
And I think a lot of people need to realize that as well.
Yeah, I agree. But as previously reported, Vince McMahon sold another 3.4 million shares of TKO stock to Endeavor and TKO, as revealed in a new SEC filing. In a post on Twitter, Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics estimated that McMahon now only owns less than 5% of WWE. McMahon has an estimated 8,021,405 shares of TKO left, which means he has 4.7% of the company he was previously the chairman of. He has been gradually selling stocks since November 2023 before the sex trafficking lawsuit that forced his resignation from WWE. So, of course, we will keep our eye on Vince and any follow-up, because it seems like he's going to have 0% of TKO stock by the end of 2024.
As you should.
Which is, it's valid. It's very valid. But we've been talking about it a little bit since the start of the show. Let's talk about last night's SmackDown, Josh. Last night's SmackDown, the show featured the Bloodline undergoing a makeover following WrestleMania 40 as Solo Sikoa stepped up into a leadership role, holding Jimmy Uso responsible for his loss to Jey Uso at WrestleMania. This led to him hugging his brother and telling him he loves him, only for the debuting Tama Tonga, who attacked Jimmy from behind. Solo and Tama brutally beat down Jimmy as Paul Heyman looked on horrified. The beatdown ended with Solo delivering Samoan Spike after Samoan Spike after Samoan Spike, forcing Paul Heyman to the center of the ring to put the one up. As Paul Heyman tried to call Roman Reigns, he took his phone away from him, smashed it, stomped on it, and then he put a chair around Jimmy Uso's head, delivered a running hip attack to stretcher out Jimmy, totally dismissing him from the Bloodline. Well deserved after that match with Jey. And then later on in the show, Tama said that this was all by the order of the tribal chief. So is he referring to the tribal chief Roman Reigns? Is he referring to the former tribal heir, now is tribal chief Solo Sikoa? Or is he referring to the man who beat the tribal chief? Because Cody beat Roman, but Rock beat Cody. Is now Rock the tribal chief? A lot of question from the segment. Cody Rhodes did also appear on the show for the first time as undisputed WWE champion, and the show was centered around his title as they determined a number one contenders match for next week's show. You had LA Knight beat Santos Escobar and Bobby Lashley in a pretty fun triple threat match, but the better of the two triple threats saw AJ Styles defeating Rey Mysterio and Kevin Owens in a very good triple threat to set up Styles versus Knight 2, a rematch from WrestleMania next week to determine the first challenger for Cody Rhodes. Bayley had her first appearance as WWE Women's Champion, appearing and only to be interrupted by Tiffany Stratton. However, Bayley wanted to give the first shot at her title to Naomi, who came out and beat Stratton to set up Naomi versus Bayley for the gold next week. So I thought it was a good show, mainly due to that Bloodline segment. The Bloodline segment, I said it at the top of the show, it was just so well layered. There's so much thing that happened in it, with Solo taking the leadership position, basically dismissing Jimmy Uso from the group, Tama debuting, joining the Bloodline. All of that was just crazy. Josh, what did you think?
Basically, I only watched it really for that. To be honest with you, the segment was great. Because that was one thing I was worried about. I'm like, how are they gonna follow? Like, Roman Reigns lost. That's a significant thing to happen. So what are they gonna do to follow up? And I thought this was a great follow up. The best thing you could do is just go this direction. Like, fuck it. I think it also teases maybe a Roman babyface turn. It kind of teases that for me as well. Like I said earlier, I have a small nitpick. The only nitpick I have was that Solo, when he was talking, he was great. I thought he kept it simple. However, it was what he said, and I'm like, he was like, wins and losses matter, right? Like, when he was mentioning that, didn't this motherfucker lose like 26 matches in a row? And he's talking about wins and losses matter.
Who, Solo? No. Solo, yeah. They purposely have not let Solo lose since he beat John Cena.
You sure? Because I feel like he's been losing a lot. Didn't he lose like the two main events for this past week? The past week, didn't he lose like?
Right? Who do you face? Who do you face? I think you're right. Maybe on some house shows. Yeah, I know on house shows he loses, but I don't remember him taking like a pinfall loss other than to like LA Knight, like last year.
So see, right? Like, like I feel like he's been losing his match because there was a stat where they're like, since the John Cena match, he was losing a lot. Like, I don't think
they were. Oh no, Randy Orton. Randy Orton is his last loss. He lost to Orton on an episode of SmackDown when they were building to the.
Yeah, you see, look, Jay said like Solo's currently 0-26 since beating Cena. So that's why I'm like,
those are house shows. I don't count those. Nah, that's very misleading. I'm good. I'm good on that stat. That stat is misleading and is bullshit because it's counting house shows. We sometimes fans want to count house shows and sometimes they don't. That's all house shows. That's literally all house shows.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm legit. I'm legitimately telling you 1,000%. I know he lost to Orton this year, but I'm pretty sure that's his only TV loss.
Because I know there was a while when I was like, yeah, Solo's very stagnant. They're not really doing nothing with him.
When did Jay beat him last week on SmackDown?
Yes.
Was that
yes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
And I think because I think Solo had, I believe he had 2 matches last week on TV. Like he had 2 matches on TV last week, and he lost. He lost both of them. That's why I'm like, yo, like he talking about losing. I'm like, he been losing.
Oh yeah, that was a DQ loss. Yeah, Seth was a no contest. Yeah, that's what I said. They're very particular. Like they're yes, he may lose the matchup, but he's not losing by pinfall most of the time. Like they're trying their best to protect him, but not really.
Yeah, he's a very not really.
They're trying to protect him, but not really. Yeah. Because they can always say, he didn't lose the match.
yeah, like because like to me it's just like I thought to me that was just at the part. I was just like, bro, like you like, but the segment itself was great. Tama Tonga coming out, he I guess he had a pop. I don't know. Like there was some uproar, but not much.
No, not much.
But I thought it was nice. I thought it was fine. I'm like, finally, they're finally using him. That's how I felt. I was like, wow, finally.
And this is much better than WWE trying the Bullet Club again. Much better.
Oh yes.
Thank you.
I was about to say that because I'm like, there's no to me at that point. There's no point. Like you're gonna use them, but then also they kind of not really teased it, but they had The Rock's mom sitting with Haku, so they kind of been using Haku like in those sense, and they mentioned
I like them immediately saying, "Oh, this is the son of Haku who's been running things in Japan for years."
So the only thing I would say is like I really hope because like yesterday, we got like a small sample size of him. Like he did. I don't want them to use him in a sense where he's not talking much because I do feel like he's a good talker, and I do feel like he does have like that kind of charisma that really breathes off, and I think that's what made the Girl of Destiny also popular because he had that swagger.
The one thing they do have to probably limit him and who else I think they're going to join the Bloodline. We'll get into that when we talk about the news. They need to limit both of those guys because they're better talkers than Solo.
Yeah, and that's also going to be part of the problem too because this is going to be a good thing for Solo. It could be a bad thing because like if you're going to be the leader, you're going to have to be talking unless you have your lackeys talk for you. I think that's a good way.
No, you have Heyman. You have Heyman talk for you.
Well, yeah, I'm saying like he's part of that too, but he's being a little bitch right now. But because we don't know what he's going to do. But
I think the babyface turn is going to start with Heyman. I think they're babyface and Heyman.
Who?
WWE. I think they're baby.
You think Heyman is turning face?
I think Heyman is turning face with Roman.
Oh shit, that'd be kind of interesting. Even though we all know Paul Heyman's a dirty fuck, so we don't know what he's gonna do. But I mean, again, segment was great. That was the best part of SmackDown, in my opinion, because everything else was like the match, like the triple threat match was cool. But then I'm like, why is AJ Styles getting an opportunity when he just lost at WrestleMania? But then all of a sudden, wait a minute, LA Knight beat AJ Styles at WrestleMania, so now they're gonna face each other to see who's gonna be the number one contender. I'm like, okay, cool, I guess, right? Cool. The whole Bailey. I don't mind Naomi facing Bailey. I know people were like, oh, it's Tiffany's time. I'm like, no, you got to build that up. Like, I think Tiffany will get her time.
I think they tease that because they're gonna do that at a pay-per-view. But they do Naomi to give Bailey her first title defense on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I don't want because Tiffany again. This is not the I don't want her to be LA Knightism like where she was given a title match too soon and look what happened. You know what I mean? I think you built to that. I think she'll get her time. I think you should build to that, in my opinion.
Talking about the Tama Tonga debut. Tama Tonga made his debut last night, appearing and aligning with Solo Sikoa in the Bloodline. Tama has been expected to join WWE for a while now, and Fightful Select had more on him joining the company. WWE has been interested in Tama for a long time, with the company showing interest all the way back in 2006 when they in 2016, when they signed AJ Styles, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, and Shinsuke Nakamura. However, Tama, of course, chose to stay in NJPW at that time in order to work with his brothers Hikuleo and Tonga Loa. It was noted last year that WWE had interest in Hikuleo and Tama, but the hiring freeze that occurred when Vince McMahon worked his way back into the company prevented it. The site reports that there's been no word on Tama having had talks with AEW, and it was considered a foregone conclusion that he was coming to WWE, where he's always had a positive relationship. There's no word as of yet on whether WWE is interested in Hikuleo or Tongaloa are targeted by WWE. Jacob Fatu is signed with the company and was backstage at WrestleMania. An idea was floated in the company of having Fatu and Tonga team up much like their fathers, Tonga Kid and Haku did in WWE back in the day. But it's not clear if that is the working plan as of yet. It should be noted, though, Jacob Fatu did post a tweet of Tonga Kid and Haku last week among the rumors that he had signed with WWE, and Wrestling Observer Newsletter had a follow-up on that report confirming that former MLW World Champion Jacob Fatu has signed with WWE after not renewing his previous deal with MLW. Fatu was backstage for WrestleMania weekend events, and it has been expected that he would join the company for months. So I did see in the comments, I think it was Bell, who said that WWE needs to explain Haku's connection to the Bloodline. No, they don't at all. It's really simple what his connection to the Bloodline is in real life and in storyline. The final boss, The Rock. The Rock is the one. That's how Haku is a part of the Bloodline. It's The Rock acknowledges him as an uncle and part of the family. It's a blood oath type of thing. This is all The Rock's doing. This is The Rock making a power move after Roman lost his power in the Undisputed Universal Championship. He sends Tama. He sends Jacob Fatu. The whole new remodeling of the Bloodline with Solo there. It makes a whole bunch of sense. It's not even something that you need to say, oh, WWE needs to explain it. No, they don't. It's really simple. It's The Rock.
Yeah. And he's mentioned it before. He's brought up Haku a few times. So you don't need to. I do understand maybe some people might still want to because they're not familiar with it. So for them to explain it, I still get it, but because The Rock has said it several times, you don't need to at this point, in my opinion. But I still see why people might want that because they're not familiar with the connect. They're not familiar with the connection at all.
Yeah, I agree with you there. We also got in the chat here Jamie Williams, who says Tiffany will win Money in the Bank. It's been a popular thing that a lot of people have been saying. Like I've seen this before on Twitter, like Bell saying Tiffy in the Bank. A lot of people feel like she's the popular choice. What do you think?
On paper, yes, but we've seen popular people, and we seen LA Knight was popular as fuck, and we thought he was on Money in the Bank, and he didn't. So I would hope they do that, but we don't know. I don't know. They're gonna feel like she's ready by that point. I don't know.
Yep. S. Dot says now y'all definitely shouldn't mind Naomi. LOL. Y'all was so on how WWE hasn't used her. This is good, even if she don't win. She won no, it's not. You're actually you're actually overrating this, which. Yes, I mean, the defenses that I saw to my previous statement about you, Estot, you're kind of not making yourself look good in this one because you're definitely overrating this. She got a token flash pin, a lucky pin against Tiffany Stratton, and she's gonna lose next week. Did we make a big deal or say that? Did we make a big deal and say Michin was used well when she got a token title shot on TV? No, because we know Michin gonna go right back to where she was. Just like we know, Naomi is being used in the title scene for just a couple of weeks, bare minimum, because she's going to probably lose to Tiffany Stratton to set her up for a title match.
Yeah, this is not a good thing. It's not that good. I don't agree with that comment. I don't know. It's like the whole thing with Naomi, it was more of like, all right, we saw her doing great stuff as Trinity and TNA. They don't want the same stuff going on where she left WWE the first time. And then now we're still getting that. Like, it's like she never left and we're still getting the same kind of treatment. That's all it is. Yeah, she got to win and she's getting a title match, but then she's getting a title match next week on TV. Like, what does that do? What is that doing? Even if it was on pay-per-view, we all know she's losing. Like, she's not winning. So it's like, I don't want her to be. It's not a situation where I want her to be champion. I want her to be used better. She doesn't need the title to be used better. And I feel like this is more the same when she before she left. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same stuff.
And we praised the way she was used in the lead up to WrestleMania with the whole story with her kind of being the friend to Bayley in the whole damage control storyline and trying to talk some sense into Bianca. We praised that, but You don't want to mention that. You only want to mention, oh, you guys were down on her not being used early on. She wasn't. Just because we mention a fact of what happened, you're mad at us? Maybe you're looking at the wrong channel.
And then also let's point out the elimination chamber. She had probably the worst elimination out of the fucking chamber. She had the worst elimination. She did a fucking move, got rolled up, and then she fucking lost.
Very true. S. He says, LOL, y'all need to get me on here. When you start having better comments, maybe. Honestly, I'll be honest with you, S. The only people whose comments will probably lead to them eventually coming on the show, Power Driver Finisher and Big Man Dogs, because they're hilarious. I'll be honest. They're hilarious, and I have had thoughts off of their comments to be like, maybe I should invite them on one week, but that's just me. I'm thinking out the box. During a recent autograph signing for Fanatics Live, Braun Strowman said that he was very close to a return to WWE. He is just waiting on his doctor to clear him. Strowman has been out of action since last June when he had neck fusion surgery on his C4 and C5 vertebrae. He said, quote, really good, feeling good. Just waiting on that doctor to say go. We're right there in like the home stretch. Could feel the tension in the air. So May 1st, I got hurt. I had surgery June 1st. So I just had a CT scan in January. The bones are very close to being fused up. So that feeling, I got a metal plate and 4 screws in my neck now. But it ain't gonna stop me. He was also in Philadelphia for WrestleMania weekend. That should be noted. So we are going to see the return of Braun Strowman very soon. We just don't know quite when as of yet, because neck injuries are always tricky. Anyway, you try to do them. But WWE made a few releases to some names within their offices. This week, PW Insider and Fightful Select have confirmed an initial report from Aaron Vabel of SE Scoops that Dan Ventrell was released this week. Ventrell joined WWE several years back, and PW Insider notes that he was considered internally as a Nick Khan, Paul Levesque guy. PW Insider notes that there may have been an additional exits from that department. Nick Khan sent a memo to employees about the exit. Another WWE executive also exited the company this week, and Trent Willifinger left the company on Thursday. Willifinger joined the company in the summer of 2021 and worked under Paul Levesque on global athlete strategy and development. So some revamping of the offices. This is something that we've been seeing for the past couple of months since the merger with TKO. But
yeah. So it's crazy. So like when I saw his picture, I was like, oh, so that was the guy they were calling Mr. Bean, because I was like wondering who the hell was that.
Like, I'm wondering who's that. Mr. Bean? What is Mr. Bean working for WWE for? You should be flattered. You should be flattered, Power Driver Finisher, because I was going to invite you on the X-Men 97 review so I can blast you for your Cyclops slander, you son of a bitch. But you got ANJ Network, who says, sup everyone, if that's all it takes, this won't be very difficult for me at all. That aside, I hope we get Braun back, because shit ain't the same without him. I'll be honest, I haven't missed Braun at all.
I haven't either. No disrespect to him, it's just the roster's so stacked that everybody's pulling their weight. So I mean, you really don't need him.
See, this type of stuff. This type of stuff, man. I'm gonna invite you on. Yes, he's slandering. Jump him in the chat, Trey Jones. Jump him in the chat. Raw after WrestleMania this week, the show was up in the ratings for a big one because we had Triple H introducing our new WWE champion, Cody Rhodes, introduce a special video celebrating Cody, only for The Rock to come out and interrupt Rhodes. They had a weird segment where Rock asked to hold Cody's title and Cody asked to hold his. The Rock then announced that he was leaving for a while, but when he comes back, he was coming for Cody. Rhodes responded by saying that he was now the Rock champion and will be waiting for him. Meanwhile, John Cena and Awesome Truth beat the Judgment Day's Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough in a pretty fun six-man tag team matchup. Rhea Ripley was attacked by Liv Morgan backstage with a steel chair being tossed at Ripley's head. NXT champion Ilya Dragunov made his main roster debut, defeating Shinsuke Nakamura in one-on-one action. Meanwhile, NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez beat Indy Hartwell in her main roster return. Sami Zayn and Chad Gable defeated the Imperium in a pretty good tag team matchup. And Jey Uso beat Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, and Bronson Reed in a great four-way main event, thanks to a distraction from CM Punk, who distracted Drew, of course. And with this win, Jey is now the number one contender for Damian Priest's World Heavyweight Championship. Any thoughts on the Raw after WrestleMania 40?
I thought it wasn't that good. To be honest with you, it was just a show to me. Opening segment was okay, but I felt like the crowd got to The Rock again, because that whole thing about the belt was a little weird to me. I mean, it was decent, and then he handed him something. He handed Cody something, and then Cody looked flustered, so that was like a little weird to me. I heard apparently is a Black Adam ticket. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying that's what I heard. So we don't know. But besides that, I mean, it was cool. Like Dragunov was cool seeing, but then it was like, oh, he's there to get Nakamura at L. Cool. And then Roxanne, seeing her was pretty decent. But besides that, I heard better stuff from NXT than I heard from Raw.
Honestly, NXT after Mania was better than Raw after WrestleMania. It felt like a show that they kept telling me that the Raw after WrestleMania was back, and the crowd for Raw after WrestleMania was definitely there, and they enjoyed a bunch of the stuff on the show. But I felt like after the show, I was like, I'll probably remember the main event because it was a great matchup. I'll remember Rock and Cody because they just have jump off the charts chemistry together. That even in a bag segment where Rock spent 20 minutes to say 2 sentences, it was still entertaining.
Yeah, and then also I felt like they focus on everything else. Like they focus on the highlights of WrestleMania. The crowd's like, oh, we have 17 consecutive sellouts. I felt like they focused more on those kind of stuff, and like the crowd, like how many people showed up. They showed it like 3-4 times. Like, oh yeah, we had over 200,000 fans show up, even though probably most of them are the same musty fans who are going to the shows anyway. But it's like I don't care about this shit. Like, what are we doing? I wonder
if anybody will inquire about the turnstile counts in Philadelphia.
They probably won't. They probably believe the numbers. So, I mean, like I said, they still drew up good numbers. I just don't think it's over 70,000 each. Last time I saw one night one did like over 68,000. The other one did 69,000. It's still good numbers. So it's not like you don't need to lie. You know what I mean? Like,
you ain't got to lie to kick it.
Yeah, you know, and then if you breaking the box office, that's fine too. I didn't see the whole point of like, oh, we had over 200,000 fans show up. I'm like, but that's every fucking WrestleMania weekend if you combine shows. I mean, the fuck?
Yeah, it's true. But talking about that opening segment with The Rock and Cody Rhodes, a match was, of course, teased between the two one-on-one after Rock pinned Cody at WrestleMania 40. And now the Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that the match is unlikely to happen for SummerSlam, as the filming schedule for The Rock's next movie lasts through July, and needing to train for a match would be hard coming off the film. There is no set date for The Rock's return match, but it is being discussed to have it at WrestleMania 41 next year. He may work a match later this year, but that has not been confirmed. The report notes that The Rock would rather work with Rhodes in the main event of WrestleMania and give it a year-long build. That may mean that Rhodes would hold the WWE Championship for a year, but they made it a point to say The Rock wants the match even if Rhodes isn't the champion. There are currently no concrete plans for how long Rhodes will hold the title. Rock has wanted year-long builds in the past, as WWE did it for his matches with John Cena, and he was also set to do a program with Brock Lesnar after WrestleMania 29. But his injuries at the time and pressure from movie studios put a stop to that. Rock has reportedly suggested even defending his People's Championship at some point if needed. So what do you think? Do you think WWE would be making the right decision if they did a year-long build for Rock versus Cody? And would it still hold the interest of the fans that long?
That's a good yes and no. I think you could still pull it off with The Rock because, again, when you have Dwayne for anything, it's going to bring interest no matter what. So I think within his name, within the star power he has, that's going to help it. I think if it would have been anybody else, it probably would have hurt it. I just don't know what they would exactly do, like when it comes to that buildup. Like, what's going to... Is The Rock gonna win the Royal Rumble and then they do that? You know what I mean? Like, it's just those kind of things that, like, I wonder what's gonna happen because you're not gonna get The Rock all the time. Yeah. That's just what it is. He's not gonna be there right now. He's set to shoot in May, and that's why he's gone now. Like, that's why he said, like, I gotta leave now because he's training, and the movie that he's doing is gonna be physical. So he's doing stuff like that. It's just a matter of
I'm gonna book it. I'm gonna book this for you. I'm gonna book this for you. I got the idea. It hit me like a light bulb at the top of my head. You have The Rock. You have Cody Rhodes have an open challenge on the first Raw on Netflix in January 2025. Open challenge. The Rock returns. The Rock comes out. Before The Rock gets to the ring, the new Bloodline jumps Cody Rhodes. The Rock comes out. Cody's still like trying to get on his feet. The referee's like, I don't know if I should ring the bell. And The Rock says, you will ring the bell. I'm the final boss. Don't fuck around. They can say it now on TV because it's on Netflix. Don't fuck around. He rings the bell. Rock bottom. 1, 2, 3. The Rock, the new WWE champion. And you have Cody chase The Rock going into next year's WrestleMania. And Cody can even win the Rumble, become the first man ever to win back-to-back Royal Rumble matches.
Hear me out. I am not against the idea. I just don't know if they're gonna book a 3-time winner in a row.
No, I don't think they should. I really feel like Punk. WWE will do the WWE thing of doing something 1 year late, of having Punk win the Rumble next year.
Yeah, it's just when it comes to that, when it comes to The Rock, I really do not know how I feel about The Rock. Oh God, if he's saying yes, that means it's a bad idea. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a good idea because it would bring up heat. It's just that we saw what happened when The Rock almost grandstanded at WrestleMania.
But he's not grandstanding. He's winning the title to put over Cody at WrestleMania.
Yeah, which is like, I see it like that. But then, you know how it is with fan perception. They're like, oh, he took the title. He's making it about himself again, right?
Yeah. They don't see the long term to it.
Yeah,
it's similar to the people who are upset that Moxley won the title, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship last night.
I'm not 100% against it. It does sound kind of like that would be interesting because, again, he'll be chasing the title again. That would definitely make it interesting because I really don't know a scenario where it's going to be a year-long buildup. Where do you go from here? And then now they're doing the Bloodline stuff. What does that also mean too? Like, if you're doing like this whole rebrand of the Bloodline, where does that leave Roman? Where does that go when it comes to all that stuff that they're doing now? That's just more of like, that's what I wonder.
In more Rock news, Rock has wanted just wanted all these year-long bills, but he's also interested in some money as well. It was reported this week that TKO basically sold a bunch of stock, and now The Rock has a total of 193 and 116 shares of Class A common stock in TKO, worth $18.8 million. The stock that he received in relation, this is the stock vested upon completion of certain services described in that independent contractor services merchandising agreement dated as of January 22nd, 2024 between the reporting person and World Wrestling Entertainment LLC. The Rock received over $9 million in stock from TKO, which would be among one of the biggest payouts in WrestleMania history if that had anything to do with his performances at WrestleMania 40 this year.
I mean, I ain't mad
at it. A lot of money, man.
I'm saying I ain't mad at it. Yeah, I'm saying I ain't mad at it. He's regardless of how I felt about The Rock, I mean, he's a smart businessman and he's deserved. You know, he's paved the way for for what he's done. I'm not mad at it. He's put in the work, so I'll give him that.
Well, TKO and WWE got to worry about their money because they got some big free agents out there, and which includes still now former World Heavyweight Champion Drew McIntyre. McIntyre's contract status was a source of speculation leading into WrestleMania 40, as he has spoken openly about the fact that his deal is up soon, and he's been in talks with the company. McIntyre's deal is expected to be up within the next few months, and Fightful Select reports that as of now, there has not been a new deal signed, according to what McIntyre has told talent and people close to him. This is worth noting because Cody Rhodes announced before WrestleMania 40 that he had signed a new deal. You would have to assume the ongoing negotiations with McIntyre are still going on due to that. While this isn't a customary situation under previous WWE eras, the site notes that this has become more common in the new era and that WWE plans on re-signing McIntyre with plans for him going forward. The report noted that per sources, each contract situation will likely be different as you might expect. What do you think about Drew, and where does your percentage stand now this week as far as Drew re-signing?
I think it's about 65%. I think he resigns. It's just again, when it comes to his situation, it's a little weird that he hasn't signed a new contract yet, where it's like so close. So that can mean anything. I think it's just him building up leverage. I think he's gonna end up re-signing, and he's probably gonna get more money than originally what he wanted. Especially now, he's doing some great shit. But I mean, he's probably gonna listen to AEW to see what they offer, because again, there's things that he has mentioned about wanting to go back home, doing these certain things that he could do with AEW that he can't with WWE. But I think because WWE is so hot, bigger brand and all this stuff, if they give him the bag, he's gonna take it.
Yeah. Smartly he should. I would say I'm still at 75 25. I think that Drew should be the guy that at least hears what AEW is offering, because he can play both sides. I'm all for people playing both sides.
That's what Orton did. That's what Orton
did. Exactly. Orton, Styles, the Good Brothers, they all did that. As previously reported, the recent documentary about Bray Wyatt included teases of a mysterious figure that is believed to be Bo Dallas as Uncle Howdy. Those teases continued on this week's Monday Night Raw. Just before the show started, there was a snippet of music played for the live audience with the lights flickering. Later, Bronson Reed cut a promo backstage and was interrupted to static, which had the word hello in the bottom of the right-hand corner. It's unknown if Dallas will be back as Uncle Howdy, but that is the character that he was playing last year. It should be noted that the Uncle Howdy Twitter account did post a rabbit emoji during the broadcast. He hasn't appeared on WWE TV since his brother, Bray Wyatt, passed away. And there also was a little glitch on SmackDown last night. So do you think this leads to an Uncle Howdy return? But what I really want is that this leads to a Uncle Howdy leading his own Wyatt family with Braun and Rowan.
Oh, that does sound interesting. It's just weird. Just because of Ray's passing, I thought it was something they'll stay away from just because of that. If they bring back the Uncle Howdy character, it's going to be more of how they're going to make it interesting. Is Bo Dallas going to be interesting enough to carry that mantle? I've seen him great stuff. Like he's talked good. He's done certain things. Like I think he could hold his own on certain things, but this will be a whole brand new thing for Bo Dallas that I'm like, I don't know. Like, do you feel confident enough that it's gonna mean something? I don't know yet, but if they're gonna do it, I do like the idea. Like that's gonna be like the new kind of like Wyatt family kind of thing that they do.
You got Alexa if you want a Wyatt sister. I just add Alexa to the group when she returns.
Yeah, which I think she is close because she already had the baby. So it's gonna be interesting. I want them to keep the same feel, but something different. You know what I mean? Like have a balance of like, this is brand new. This is the new thing. Because we all know like Bray's not there, unfortunately. So it's gonna be interesting. They already teased it a few times, and I think it's gonna happen. I don't think at this point it's not gonna happen. It's just a matter of if you're gonna bring it back, make it interesting. Don't make it, like
make it bigger, make it better.
Yeah, and don't make it like a rip, like kind of like, all right, you're just bringing it back to please people. I don't want that. Make it mean something.
And then finally, before we wrap up, WWE with NXT from last week and this week. WWE Draft is set to take place at the end of April. As announced on Raw, Michael Cole announced that the draft will return on the April 26th edition of SmackDown and the April 29th episode of WWE Raw. The specific format for this year's draft has not been revealed. The 2023 draft took place on April 28th and May 1st of last year and included talent shifting brands between Raw and SmackDown with NXT call-ups as well. It should be noted WWE has teased that NXT will actually be getting individuals drafted to their brand in this draft, but that has not been confirmed yet. But we'll talk more about the draft as it leads up. And yes, you will see the return of our mock draft that we did last year with me and Romeo. It will return this year on WWE Draft Week. But let's finish up WWE for this week with NXT. And we got to talk about NXT Stand and Deliver. The show featured Trick Williams beating Carmelo Hayes in a decent main event. You also had Ilya Dragunov defeat Tony D'Angelo in a hard-hitting battle to retain the NXT Championship. Roxanne Perez beat Lyra Valkyria in a very good bout to become the two-time NXT Women's Champion. Meanwhile, you also had Julia appear for the first time on WWE TV in the front row to announce her signing with the company. The Wolf Dogs beat Axiom and Nathan Frazier in an awesome opener to retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. And in what I thought was one of the best matches of WrestleMania weekend, Oba Femi defeated Josh Briggs and Dijak in a triple threat heavyweight slugfest thriller to retain the NXT North American Championship. Then we move over to Tuesday, NXT TV. The show featured Trick Williams challenging Ilya Dragunov for the NXT Championship. Dragunov accepted for NXT Spring Break-In on April 23rd on one condition: if Trick loses, he must leave NXT. Trick accepted, but Carmelo Hayes attacked both men and challenged Trick to a steel cage matchup next week. Then you also had Roxanne Perez, who kicked off the show with Lyra Valkyria coming out to get her rematch, only for Tatum Paxley to brutally attack her former idol. However, Natalya came out to challenge Perez, and they had a very good matchup on the show, with Roxanne defeating Natalya from interference from Lola Vice to retain the NXT Women's Championship. Any thoughts, any comments on NXT Stand and Deliver or the NXT after WrestleMania? You also had Axiom and Nathan Frazier. They became new NXT Tag Team Champions, defeating the Wolf Dogs in what was Braun Breaker's final appearance on NXT TV before he officially goes up to the main roster. And then you also had Final Testament make their return to NXT, Karrion Kross and Authors of Pain, drumping Axiom and Nathan Frazier after their title win. And you also had Ivar showing up to challenge Obafemi. So a lot of WWE main roster talent on the show this week. What did you think?
I mean, it was definitely better than it was than Raw. I'll tell you that much. From seeing the highlights, it looked. I mean, it looked like a good show. Some of the how I view NXT is like, is NXT going to be a third brand? Is it still developmental? Like, what is it? Because if you're just going to bring guys from the main roster back to NXT, just comes off like a demotion to me, even though they could do great shit on there. It's a weird feeling to me. That's why. Like, it's cool to see them, but then it's like, okay, like, what's the establishment within the brand? Like, are we making this a third brand? Or are we doing
I honestly, I think they've been doing that. It's like the when people complain about AEW. Oh, AEW doesn't have too many women's matches. Oh no, it did have too many women's matches, and that's what I'm saying with NXT. It did have a problem where it didn't want to figure out if they're developmental or the third brand. But once they had Dominic Mysterio come over win the NXT North American title, you have Becky Lynch come over win the NXT Women's Championship. Since last summer, it's been the third brand.
Yeah, and I mean, and to me, it's more so like I want them to make that clear. Because
I think they have. I think those were the moves that made it clear to me that this is the third brand.
Nothing like, I get the moves itself, but I want them to make like verbally, because remember when Triple H.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Like, I don't need WWE giving me any messages. No. I'm good. Yeah. I had to sit here for fucking 2 years hearing about stories and finish the fucking story. Now I'm gonna sit here and it's probably gonna be 10 fucking years that they telling me it's a new fucking era. No, Josh, I don't need them to confirm it's a third brand. It's the third brand. I don't need them to tell me it.
I'm saying, I'm just saying, because remember Triple H when he was be developmental.
But what I'm saying, Josh, you're asking for that, and they will knock you over the head with that if they hear you say that. If they hear you say that, they will keep saying it every week. We're the third brand of WWE, third brand. I don't want to hear that every week. It's clear they are the third brand. It's
all right, you're right. I'll take that back. I don't want them to say anything because they're gonna keep confirming to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't need them. No, they don't need to say
but overall, I mean, that's why it's a little weird. Like that's how I view NXT. Like anybody that goes is like, I mean, it's cool to see it, but it's like, all right, cool. What's gonna be next for them? But they kind of also need to do it because they're moving to WB. You know, they're going to the new channel. Like they're going to CW. So they kind of need those kind of people that have been on TV, like Raw, SmackDown. You kind of need those people to make your brand look better.
And I bring up, people like Dominic Mysterio and Becky Lynch who had nice short runs over there. But the best example of why it is a good thing that now they have left the option or tease the option that there are main roster people who can go over to NXT and get some shine. Baron Corbin, I view him much differently than I did after last year's WrestleMania, than after this year's WrestleMania, because he went to NXT. He fully embraced that. He helped out other people on the card. He had some bad matches. Don't get me wrong. I will never forget that Gable Stevenson matchup, but overall, he helped Braun Breaker find another version of himself. He became like the funny, making jokes, jock in the back instead of very paint by the numbers. We have a Goldberg that we're trying to put in a John Cena peg, which was Braun Breaker when NXT was developmental. But with Braun Breaker teaming up with Baron Corbin, we got to see him kind of flesh out and show more personality.
Yeah, and then also it's just one of those things where I think I feel like if it's your strong suit, then I think you should stay there. I don't think it should be an option of like, oh yeah, this is just a stepping stone, and then you end up going to the main roster for somewhere. I think what they should do is like if people are comfortable in NXT or like they probably exceed more there, they should stay there. I think Baron Corbin is a perfect example of that. Like we've seen it.
I don't think so because I think he found something with Breaker where if they put the Wolf Dogs on the main roster, this could be the first time I could see Baron Corbin going on a long run as a babyface.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. I mean, that's one of the things, right? Like you hope, but then it's like they bring him up, then it's like, oh, all right, we getting homeless Corbin again? Like, okay, cool. You know what I mean?
I don't think they're gonna go back on stuff because
no, they're not gonna do that.
It's a new era.
I'm just saying, sometimes it could be a new era, but you know that term about like you teach new things, but you can't teach new things to old dogs, whatever that quote is. But sometimes you never know. Like if you're not swimming, you're gonna end up sinking no matter what. So I guess I just gotta wait and see when it comes to stuff like that, when it comes to NXT and all that stuff that they're doing.
Well, we got to talk more about the newest signee to NXT and WWE. Fightful Select reports that former Stardom wrestler Julia has agreed to join WWE following her appearance at NXT Stand and Deliver. The plan is that she will finish up her dates in Japan, including a stint in Rossy Ogawa's new promotion. However, she could start with NXT at any time. She is still in the U.S. as Ogawa went back to Japan on his own on Monday, and it was said that WWE offered more money than AEW in this case, as there was more interest from WWE than AEW. Julia did not attempt to get an agent after leaving Stardom. It's believed that William Regal was a big part of the negotiations, as was Ogawa. When she appeared at Stand and Deliver, she was rushed to her seat under a cloak, and it was said that she was overwhelmed by the crowd's response. She also attended WrestleMania 40, both backstage and in the crowd. She wore credentials that said she was a performer, confirming she signed with the company. What do you think? I think that Julia has the potential to come in and be this era of NXT's Asuka. Like, she's going to come in, and I think we're not going to end 2024 before Julia wins her first title in WWE.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I mean, it's a big signing for them. I mean, I was like, they finally now it's something, because it was like this back and forth shit was kind of getting tiring. I'm not gonna lie to you when it comes to her, but this could be good. Yeah, I do see it like a Asuka kind of thing. That'd be good for her, and I think she beat the shit out of a lot of women there, so that'd be great to see as well.
I think her and Roxanne Perez would be a banger, so I'm looking forward to that, especially. But we gotta get finally. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, especially with those stiff hits that she does. Oh man, can't wait to see that. Because apparently she could still do that. Apparently they're gonna allow her to do that. So
we'll see how long that lasts. Let's move over to AEW. AEW Dynamite did 819,000 viewers this week. And of course, the show featured the Young Bucks presenting the CM Punk and Jack Perry AEW All-In backstage footage. Bucks stated that this incident took their attention away from their match with FTR and led to their loss at Wembley Stadium. In the video, Punk is shown approaching Perry, talking for less than a minute, shoving Jack twice, and then applying a front face lock before Samoa Joe, Chris Hero, Malachi Black, and Jerry Lynn separated the two. Punk also made a move towards Tony Khan behind the monitors, out of view of the camera. This led to FTR coming down for a really good promo, talking about why would the Bucks even play the footage and wanting to move on to focus on what makes AEW great. Later in the show, we had Kazuchika Okada beat Cristiano Argentino in a squash victory. Post-match, Okada accepted Pac's challenge for the AEW Continental Championship. Then Pac came out, but he was attacked by the Young Bucks, which led to CM Punk chants, and FTR tried to come down for the save, but the Elite used the steel chair to get the advantage and stand tall over Pac and FTR. Meanwhile, in the Samoa Joe Swerve Strickland saga, Samoa Joe came down for the opener of the show, but he was attacked by Swerve Strickland, who speared him through a table. Later in the night, Joe defeated Dustin Rhodes in a pretty solid main event. Post-match, Swerve Strickland came out to attack Joe again, knocking him out with a steel chain to stand tall. Will Ospreay took a jab back at Triple H for his afraid of the grind comment. He then further promoted his AEW Dynasty match with Bryan Danielson in a good promo. Timeless Toni Storm tossed champagne and attacked Thunder Rosa, wiping off her face paint. This led to Mariah May beating Anna Jay in a solid bout. Post-match, Anna Jay attacked Mariah May from behind until Stardom's Mina Shirakawa made her AEW debut to make the save and proceeded to kiss Mariah May because the love triangle storyline will not be missed. It will not be slandered. Just the best storyline in women's division in wrestling. Adam Copeland defeated Penta El Zero Miedo in a very good opener to retain the TNT Championship. But post-match, House of Black's Brody King and Julia Hart attacked Copeland until Willow Nightingale made the save to set up a mixed tag team matchup for next Wednesday. So, after recapping all of that went down this week on AEW Dynamite, had a couple of nights to sleep on it. What was your thoughts on the decision to air the CM Punk footage? And with the fallout, which we will get into with the news, with the fallout, was it worth it? Was it a success or did it backfire?
I think it backfired, especially on internet perception, social media perception. Definitely backfired. For the record, I don't think they should have shown it. In my opinion, it was just a little too much. I have my thoughts on both sides, but overall, I don't think they should have shown it because it was going to make the company look bad no matter what, in my opinion. I know there was people who had like certain thoughts on it. They thought they did it to make Punk look bad, which I think, yeah, that's part of it. The footage itself, do I think that they were trying to embarrass Punk in a sense? No, I think they wanted clarification of like, yeah, this is what really happened. I don't think it was a scenario where people were like, oh yeah, they were doing it because Punk got fucked up or something. I didn't believe that for 1 second. I already had a thought that Punk was the aggressor in the situation. All the video did was confirm that he was the aggressor of the situation, the video itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it more backfired than anything. But it got people talking. For us on the channel. It did great numbers for us. We had a great watch.
We're all for it. Keep throwing more footage.
I mean, hey. For that, for like, again, I think in a sense it backfired, but it got people talking, and we had over 2,000 views on Ramble and the watch along. So I mean, again, it got people interested. Just like what people used back in the day for WWE, oh, bad publicity is good publicity. This is kind of, I guess, the same thing when it comes to that for us, like commentators like us, like we could talk about it and is doing great numbers for us. I'm all for it. But as a company themselves, I mean, it doesn't help the perception of the company at all.
Yeah. And if this was like WWE in the 2010s, then it would honestly, it would be a success because the rating went up. You got some heat, you got a few chants, maybe not all the chants you wanted. You could say it was a success. But we all know for a fact AEW very much cares about the perception. And when you take this bad of a hit and it makes your company look this bad, then it has to be considered. I don't know if it really, honestly, I can't give like a valid like decision as far as what AEW should view it as. Should AEW view it as a misfire and a backfire, or should AEW view it as a success? From Tony Khan's tweet about their 819,000 viewers, but more importantly, their 0.30 in the 18 to 49 demo, which was their best since February of 2024. Then in his eyes, if it popped the rating, that was his goal in the end, or that's what he wanted everybody to think was his goal, then it was a success. But his real goal was to be petty and to get back at CM Punk. You didn't. You didn't do that. You honestly, in Punk's mind and in Punk's fans' mind, you vindicated him.
Which I don't think he was. Yeah.
No, I don't think he was. That's why I said in Punk's mind and his fans' mind, you vindicated him. In WWE fans' mind, you vindicated him. In Jim Cornette's mind, you vindicated him. In Eric Bischoff's mind, you vindicated him. In Billy Ray's mind, you vindicated him. All these grifters, all the people that have trying to put rain or bring rain to your sunny days that you've been having in 2024. You had an exceptional buildup to Revolution and one of the very best pay-per-views I've ever been live for at Revolution in North Carolina. The first 3 weeks after Revolution, it was banger after banger episode of Dynamite. But ever since WrestleMania season has come, you have been more distracted than it seems, more distracted on reacting to WWE or having an answer to WWE on your television than having entertaining television. 1 week, you got a fucking 60-year-old beating one of the best heels in professional wrestling. And then the next week, you got a segment which got the other company's the other company's star being a babyface after he's been fucking forgotten in this company, despite you being the only company that didn't get CM Punk chance everywhere after he left. How did you do that? How did you become the first company to ever not have CM Punk chants in multiple cities and then cause them to chant CM Punk? I don't understand the thinking.
No, I get it. And yeah, but I mean, again, like I just don't. I knew this was what was going to happen when it comes to the footage. Again, but there's people who are also on AEW side for doing it. But it definitely didn't help the perception of people who are already against AEW. It doesn't help it. And that's why I think it's a mess too, because of that. Because of people who already disliked AEW or who already had their bullshit reasons of not liking the company. Just gave them more of a fuel of not liking the company, right? And that's where to me it looks like even more ugly because of that. Now, do I think if they would have shown the footage and the outcome was different, do I think the perception would have changed? Probably not. I think showing it hurts their reputation no matter what.
And it's also the thing that no one was questioning Punk's account of what happened at All In.
Yeah.
Everybody was questioning if Punk was right about Tony Khan not being a good leader or boss. And this move and this decision answered the question to a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, and we've all been saying that for a while too. I was like, is he really a boss? No. Because there were times where we were like, this motherfucker needs to put his foot down on things, right? So I mean, yeah, that's basically what it did. I think it did confirm a few things. If I'm just like looking at the video itself, again, Punk, people are like, oh, he was like 100% right. He told the truth. I don't think Punk told the truth completely. I think he got certain things right. He got certain things wrong, in my opinion. So like the whole thing of the way he approached the situation, like the way he described it was that he was kind of casual about it. That was false. He was heated in the moment.
He nearly headbutted him by how close he was to Chael Sonnen. And when you say it's the same thing as Chael Sonnen, there was actually space between Chael Sonnen and the person that he did that with. You were right up on Jack. Right up on him and waited till you saw his hands up in his head to push him. Like, I'm sorry, that did not make CM Punk look better to me. That's for damn sure.
It didn't to me, and that's where I was getting at too, because like I know like when you guys were talking about it on Ramble, that's when I joined. Like when I commented, Jimmy, he did bring up like the Chael thing, but the difference is people who don't know the Sonnen situation was that they were doing Ultimate Fighter, and there was a blood feud between Vanderlei Silva and Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen would always provoke Vanderlei Silva whatever way he can, talk a lot of shit. That's what they do in the fight business. They talk shit. Vanderlei just didn't like it. So the moment Vanderlei saw him, Vanderlei was provoking him in person. He was just like he wanted to fuck him up. And Chael was like, you could tell he was like a little uncomfortable. He was like, can we just talk about it? Like he was like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And I guess the moment that when Vanderlei like brushed him or like got close to him, that's when Chael squared up. That's the biggest difference too. He squared up. He was like, yo, I can't let you get too close. He was about to fight him, and then he took him down in a takedown. In this situation with Punk got to Jack's face. They were talking for a little bit, and I didn't see where Punk said like, oh yeah, he got a little too close. Like, no, bro, you got closer to Jack than Jack got closer to you. Like, the fuck you talking about? And then with the moment that Jack went like this, clearly Jack didn't do it. Like clear as day goes like this. That's when Punk pushes him. He pushes him, and then he goes close. He gets to him again, puts him in the chokehold. I just think his story when it came to that is a little bit different because he tried to make it seem like it was casual, it was nothing. And I was like, no, bro, you were hot in the moment, and you got upset over words, and then you put your hands on the guy. When in regards to the whole thing with TK of like the whole, because we did hear like, oh yeah, he lunged at TK. He was obviously high. I don't think he lunged at TK, but
he definitely went towards him.
Yeah, no, I think he did. And I think that's where the difference is, where we were talking about it on Wednesday, where like people were just like, oh, I don't get why he was saying he was fearing for his life and all this stuff, which I think was a little reach. I think he should have said maybe his safety or whatever the case may be. I don't think he should have said fear for his life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, we were talking about a guy who's probably never been in his fight. He never been in a fight in his life. You know, he's management. How many of those kind of guys are in fights all the fucking time? TK is not a pro wrestler. He's not in a fight. So you never know with this fucking man unhinged. You don't know what's going to happen. So I could see where he probably might have felt uncomfortable with his because people had to pull back Punk when he went towards TK. So that alone, to me, you can't really the way he made it seem like, oh, I went up to and I said this place was I was like, no, bro, like it looked like you were about to attack the man. I don't think he was, but I could see why TK probably felt uncomfortable because you were unhinged at that point. And then like a little few things he said that Joe stopped him and all this, but that was clearly not the case. Went to
Joe pulled away Jack. Yeah.
So like that was a little off. And I get it because he's in the heat of the moment, so you're not going to get everything. So again, all of the video itself was confirm that Punk was the aggressor. Punk got upset over words. We don't know what was said. People are using the defense. Oh well, Jack said we'll do something. That don't give you the fucking right to put that. That also don't give you the right. That does not, no matter fucking what, that does not give you the right to put his hands on the person. Now, if he was to say, oh, I'll eat your mom's booty or something, maybe. Like if you're crossing the line, maybe. But to say like, oh, do something about it, or what are you gonna do about it? That what the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
Like, what is that supposed to mean exactly? Because if I did that at work, one of my coworkers said that, and I put my hands on my coworker, guess what? I'm the one that's being fired. Because
you're fired and probably arrested as well. So
exactly. And to me, that's where people, I think they're defending Punk when it comes to that. Oh well, Jack said this.
I will say, like I said, I don't think the footage made Punk look better. I will say, I looked at that footage and I was like, why the fuck has Jack Perry been suspended for 8 months?
That's another layer.
The fuck are we doing? What the fuck did he do?
Yeah, that's another layer to it, right? That's another layer to it because the only thing I could say is that maybe he got fired. I mean, not fired. The reason why he got suspended was because of what he basically was the antagonist when it comes to the situation itself.
But my immediate answer when Punk, if I was Jack Perry and Punk comes up to me, oh Jack, why are you doing all this dumb internet shit? I would have been like, who put it on the internet?
And
and if that's gonna get me punched and choked out, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. To be honest, but I would be like, who put it on the internet, my nigga? You mad at everybody for talking to reporters, but you put that on the internet.
Yeah.
I was referring to that being on the internet, not the fact that you were the one who put it on the internet.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what was said between Jack and Punk, because Punk says, well, what are you gonna do about it, right? There was a conversation clearly between them, so there was more words that was said than just what are you gonna do about it, clearly. And I do believe Jack brought up the fact, like, you're the one that fucking fed the dirt sheets that information about the glass thing. I do feel like that was brought up, and I think it makes Jack look good. To be honest with you,
It does.
It makes him look good.
It honestly made him look like a victim in this situation.
Yeah, but
to
also
some people.
I think and then you have those people, Romeo, that's saying like, oh, that he looks like a bitch, that Punk looks like a badass, bro. At the end of the day, you're talking about a 45-year-old man who attacked a 25-year-old man. Like, are we really calling that somebody being a badass? Like, seriously, is that a badass to you? No, he got upset over words. That's just my opinion when it comes to that. And this is coming from a CM Punk fan. I mean, my fucking social media name is based off of CM Punk, right? So it's not like I'm defending the guy or whatever the case may be, but again, like we were all having a good conversation. Like me, Top Guy made some fantastic points, in my opinion, about like the security itself of AEW, right?
Did you hear me? Did you hear me break down how many people could have stopped this? I was like, this person here, he's the nearest with the headphones on. He could have done something. I was like, I can identify Aubrey Edwards and Paul Turner are having a friendly, laughing conversation while that shit is right by them. Tony Khan, the owner of the goddamn company, is behind monitors with that feed away from him. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'm nudging Chris Hero, who is next to him, because Chris Hero has to come up and separate them when it happens. Even though I got my eyes on the monitor, if Punk just came to me and said that to me and getting upset, I know the history here, and I'm not going to think that Punk is going to be like, oh no, it's the biggest show of the year. Let me wait. Let me not be petty. No, it's CM Punk. He's going to be petty. Chris, stop him. Stop. Get him away from him. We're about to go live. Please get him away from me.
Yeah, and I think too, because when me and Guy were talking about it, like I get what he was mentioning about about more security there and all this stuff. I was telling him, I was just like, one side I see that, and the other side they probably expected him not to act up because he needed to be a good team player. That's probably what they expected, and that didn't happen. So obviously that was completely wrong. And I think that's part of the reason why, maybe, like, they felt like, all right, like, this dude has already done this. He's not going to do it again. There's no way he's going to do it again. And then guess what? He did it again.
I would have known. I would have known he going to do that shit again. It's CM Punk. He don't learn no lessons.
Exactly.
He don't know what the word accountability means.
Yeah, so I mean, again, in the situation, if we're talking about the situation itself, all it did was it confirmed that CM Punk was the aggressor. Jack was basically innocent in the situation itself. They could have prevented this. Clearly, multiple people could have prevented this. It just didn't happen, unfortunately. Yeah, I think it's gonna make Jack look good in the long run, in my opinion. Like, it already has. Like, we've seen the reaction he got yesterday, and his shirt's selling out. I mean, there's somebody winning in the situation, at least.
He does seem like the big winner after this.
Yeah, and to me, I just don't. I'm not gonna go saying, oh, he was a little bitch, because at the end of the day, if you clearly see it, the man fucking pushed him and then grabbed him. What the fuck Jack was supposed to do at that point? You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like there was a long pause after he pushed him and he didn't do nothing, and then he just, like, that shit happened so fast that it ended up happening. But also, I mean, Punk is a grown ass fucking man. Like, you getting upset that somebody said something, like, that's just how I feel about it. Again, like you said, it to fans, it vindicated CM Punk. To me, being a CM Punk fan, did it vindicate him? Not really, because I kind of knew he was telling half truths. And that's how I felt about when he was giving his side of the story. I felt like maybe some of it is true. I just don't think he's fully grasping what really happened. And I think if Punk would have said, yeah, I came in aggressively, I shouldn't have done this, this is what happened, I probably would have been like, yeah, that sounds like CM Punk. Yeah, that sounds like something he would fucking do. But for him to try to act like he was either a victim or a savior, whatever the case may be, I mean, that's typical Phil Brooks behavior.
Yeah, I've never heard Phil Brooks tell a story where he wasn't the victim or the savior. And I'm also a CM Punk fan. I got a bunch CM Punk shirts. I like Punk, but when the person shows you who they are, you gotta acknowledge that. You gotta be self-aware of that.
Yeah, and to me, all it really does is when it comes to Brawl Out, when it comes to the situation with the Young Bucks, probably tells me that Punk was definitely the aggressor of the situation. I don't think it was Matt and Nick.
I never thought it was Matt and Nick, but that's just me.
We've been saying that for two, so I mean, it is what it is.
PW Insider and Fightful Select had multiple reports about the fallout of the footage. They report that in spite of rumors to the contrary, the Young Bucks were fine with their promo and the AEW All-In footage segment on Dynamite. The segment showed the backstage altercation with Punk and Jack Perry. The Young Bucks had no problem with the creative for the segment. The idea came from Tony Khan, but the Bucks were okay with it as they used it to build their match with FTR. It also helped open the door for the return of Jack Perry, who they helped get signed to AEW. They also had issues with CM Punk in the past and didn't have a problem with the shots at him. Fightful notes that most of the reactions to the footage were said to be tepid, but with many seeing what they expected to see. It was said to be a one-night ratings ploy, and the mood backstage at AEW Dynamite was said to have dropped after the footage aired, with most worried about the social media bullshit that would follow. The feeling backstage is that now it's more important than ever to deliver a big show with AEW Dynasty, and they don't think the pay-per-view schedule being released today was an accident. Khan came up with the idea after Punk's interview with Ariel Helwani and the shots from WWE during WrestleMania week. Creative was set by late last week, and the decision to promote it right after WrestleMania was planned in advance, and that was a success. That plan to promote the segment on WrestleMania Saturday was smart. FTR were informed about the decision to promote the footage and agreed to it. They both reportedly believe that if it creates buzz for their match and storyline with the Bucks, it's fine. Fightful states that they've heard no issues between Punk and FTR over the footage. There were also several people discussing the matter in WWE, although sources were mostly exhausted after WrestleMania week. No one was said to be surprised by what was shown, and Punk is not expected to see any kind of punishment over the incident. Some of the wrestlers called the video a self-own against AEW. Others didn't care and watched out of curiosity. One veteran that has been in WWE and AEW said this wasn't anything worse than what happened in the Monday Night Wars, and there have been plenty of similar examples from that time period. The hope backstage in AEW is that this will help Jack Perry, and both from a crowd reaction perspective, especially with his match in Chicago last night. However, some in AEW wish that someone else would have gotten that TV time in regards to showing Punk. Some felt that they were in a no-win situation, and after the multiple shots from WWE and references last week, before the footage from All In aired on Dynamite, several people online claimed that Tony Schiavone did not look happy at ringside. Even Dave Meltzer noted that he thought Schiavone looked miserable when throwing to the segment. However, Meltzer reports in Friday's Wrestling Observer newsletter that was not the case. Sources indicated that Schiavone was simply selling the idea of heels doing something petty, and his role was to look disgusted. There was said to be shock that people took it any other way. Tony Khan took to Twitter on Thursday to talk about the ratings bump for Dynamite this week. The show drew a 0.30 in the 18 to 49 demo and 819,000 viewers, improvements from recent weeks. And Khan posted, just got the good news from @TBS Network last night's Wednesday night, #AEW Dynamite. up 29% from last week, up 17% over prior 6-week average. Thank you all watching AEW Wednesday. See you all at a stacked TBS wrestling show Wednesday in Indy, rampaging and colliding this weekend on TNT. Meanwhile, CM Punk responded to the footage with a Instagram story sharing a photo of George W. Bush in front of a Mission Accomplished banner. It's unknown if this was a direct reference, but it did go up at around the same time as the segment aired. I said this on Thursday. I will say it again here. The way you complete and put a bow and put this all behind you, Dynasty ends with this man returning and helping the Bucks win the AEW World Tag Team titles.
That's the best way to go about it.
It's the only way at this point.
Yeah,
honestly.
I'm saying, like, and I'm all for it. Again, like we've said, like, hey, this could help Jack, and so far, that's kind of proven that. Like what we've seen, like the small sample so far, this could really build to that. And it gives something for Jack. I mean, remember, he was struggling being a heel, and ever since he's come back, having the scapegoat gimmick, it's really has helped him. It's helped him drastically, in my opinion. And this will be more. Like if he joins the Elite, this will be more. He'll be Hangman's replacement for the Elite.
Yeah. Hey, I'm down for it. I'm down for it. Jimmy McRam thinks that it's a big downgrade, but I don't.
No. I mean, at this point, it's like what's a downgrade about it? The kid is getting a buzz. This is what you wanted for one of your pillars. You needed some momentum, and he has the momentum now. If he's drawing numbers, and if he's selling, like that was a good crowd yesterday. Like they drew a good crowd yesterday, and they were again like the reaction during the match. I mean, tells you all that I really don't think it's a downgrade, because again, the whole purpose of the Bucks, they're supposed to be heels, and they're doing what they think is best for the Elite stable. This will be one of the best. This will be one of the moves that they think is best for the Elite, and that makes sense.
It does. It does make sense from what the role that the Bucks are playing, and I think they're playing it very well. And I think that Jack would benefit from being associated with them right now as well.
Oh, and I will say that within the segment itself, like I thought they did a good job when it comes to like.
I thought the Bucks were great, but they should have done commentary over the footage.
You know, it's funny. Yeah, I was hearing you say that, and I was like, you know what? Maybe that could have been. That probably would have taken away a little bit of the heat. I think the reason why they didn't do it, in my opinion, is because I think it would have been too much of a joke at that point.
But no, I think they honestly felt like that footage made CM Punk look bad, and it's just like. It did not to everybody.
Yeah, they should have done.
It did not. Yeah, it did not have the effect. Like we brought up on Thursday, I think, or on In the Weeds. We brought up the Shawn Michaels and Triple H airing the curtain call. What did they do? They did commentary over the non-audio tape. That's what you do. Fucking a minute of dead air that killed the segment.
Yeah, they should have done like once you mentioned that, I was like, man, that kind of would have been hilarious. And then make up like bullshit commentary between the two. Yeah. Like, hey, I'm just having a good day. And then boom.
Hey, I just had a big match. Oh, I'm angry because I'm friends with FTR. Like it's something ridiculous. It just feed into the ridiculous of airing the footage. But that's not the only one referring to WWE on this week's Dynamite that everybody was talking about. A lot of people was talking about Will Ospreay, and there have been rumors that he was not happy with the WWE references on Wednesday's show. However, both PW Insider and Fightful Select report that his promo on Dynamite was Ospreay's idea. Ospreay reacted to the comments from Triple H about the grind by commenting on his current schedule and how hard he works. Ospreay noted that Triple H is only in his position because he was grinding on the boss's daughter. The line was something that Ospreay came up with himself and suggested for his promo. It was not given to him or forced him to say. The idea from Wednesday night was to respond to the shots WWE took during WrestleMania week, something that was seen as no different from the Monday Night Raw wars where WCW and WWE took shots at each other. Ospreay was fine with what was said and he worked with the creative team on the promo. He ran the promo by several people. At one point, a CM Punk reference was considered as Punk made a joke about Ospreay's all-in tattoo on ESPN. However, many felt it was overkill and opted not to include it. Ospreay previously had talks with WWE and noted that he eventually chose AEW because he wanted to be able to work a full-time schedule while still keeping his family in the UK. The shots from WWE reportedly puzzled wrestlers in several companies. One WWE talent noted that Ospreay was originally respectful of WWE during negotiations and went with AEW for his family's sake. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that the reason Ospreay came up with the idea to respond was he felt he had to for personal reasons. Ospreay reportedly told Tony Khan that he would take full responsibility for the promo when he pitched it. Ospreay's reasoning was that he felt one of the most important people in wrestling who he had respectfully negotiated with mocked his work ethic and dedication to wrestling. Ospreay noted he never took shots at WWE or his performers previously and felt Triple H's comments were a cheap shot. When Ospreay negotiated with WWE, they were fully aware of his family situation with his partner, women's wrestler Alex Windsor, and his stepson. He claimed that WWE knew he wanted to stay in the UK because Windsor couldn't relocate due to her family, and they wanted to raise his stepson in London. Ospreay reportedly felt WWE was aware of all of this, and that's why he felt Triple H's comments were a low blow and deserved a response. You can't be the punching bag. I respect Ospreay for the line. You had to respond back.
Yeah, me too. I know people are gonna bitch about it because like, oh, they're bringing up WWE. I was like, but yeah, it's okay when Paul Levesque did it on fucking ESPN, where they have more fucking viewers on that than Raw, than SmackDown, than AEW. Like that's okay though.
That's okay.
That's okay. But if somebody responds, oh no, that's wrong because he did on live television, be like, but let's forget that ESPN doesn't draw more than 10 million people on their programmings. Let's forget that, right? Let's forget that.
And let's remind you, most of the people watching ESPN do not know AEW exists.
They don't. They don't. But yeah, when it comes to Triple H's comments themselves, again, it came off salty, right? Because you're at your hottest. He didn't. I think he could have responded gracefully, like, hey, unfortunately things don't work out. I think we have a strong roster, and we'll go from here. Different ways you could have approached it, but the fact that you're like, oh, well, if you don't like the scheduling, I don't want you here. If you're not about the grind, don't come here. I don't need you here.
And the terminology, he was like, I'm glad I didn't pick you. Nigga, you didn't have a choice. You cannot, you did pick him. If you did negotiations with him, you did pick him. So you cannot say now that he didn't pick you. Oh, I'm glad I didn't pick you. No, that's not how that works.
Yeah, and it's like that shit when he said that, I was just like, bro, like did this motherfucker forget Okada and Ospreay picked AEW? Like, did he forget that? Like, what the fuck?
Like, my whole thing is WWE is having a massive year. WWE is having multiple massive years. Why do they have to throw a bucket of water on any success AEW has as well? You don't need to. You're number one. Why do you need to throw water on number twos? Any type of minor success they have.
Yeah, and that's why it was weird to me. Like that whole thing when he said that, I was just like, bro, he just sounds mad because he didn't get Will Ospreay. And I think part of it too is because remember there was a few rumors that people were saying like he probably feels like he fucked up when it comes to not signing Will Ospreay because they were seeing his promos, they were seeing his matches, and they said like there was a few people that were like, oh shit, maybe I should. And
I really feel that's why he said that line. Why he said that on the interview.
Yeah, but I also don't think that's fair on Will. Like, what does Will have to do with that? He didn't say nothing about them, and Will has never, at least from my experience, he's never shitted on WWE. Like, always said like certain things, like, "Oh, I want to go because of their scheduling." So this is something he's been saying for years. Like, their scheduling is too much, and I think that's also okay. People don't want to be on the road for 200, 300 days a year. Like, that's people, that's unhealthy. That's unhealthy for your home, for your home life. You know what I mean? So and I'm always for like, hey, if you get the best deal possible, less traveling, more time with your family, more money, hey. But yeah, there's no fucking problem when Brock Lesnar signs with WWE. He gets all this money and he works part time, like because he don't like the traveling. He's not about the grind. Is that okay?
Roman Reigns is not about the grind. He asked for a part-time schedule.
And we've been on board with that. We were like, yeah, hey, he got his money. That's okay. Like that's cool. Like so like, again, like I've never find it to be a problem, but it's like, bro, like you really gonna come at Ospreay when he's been showing up to AEW TV every fucking week and then traveling back home and then coming back to the United States?
Not even talking about his current schedule. Just talk about his schedule the past 8 years. That was mad disrespectful to that. But we're giving Triple H's comments too much attention, just like AEW. SE Scoops reports that the AEW contract of Hook will expire this year, and the second generation wrestler is expected to explore his options in free agency. According to the report, the FTW champion will be a free agent later in 2024. A source said that I can see WWE clearly being interested in him. It has been a good year for free agents, with AEW reportedly paying a lot of money to get the names like Mercedes Moné, Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada. WWE, meanwhile, recently picked up Julia, Andrade, and Naomi. Hook is currently in a program with Chris Jericho, and his father, Taz, regularly calls AEW action. He will defend the FTW championship tonight against Shane Taylor at Battle of the Belts 10. But I could definitely see Hook making the move to WWE. There's just certain people that if you have like raw potential, like a Hook, like a Jade Cargill, I'm going to think that WWE is a better place for you, because AEW is at the point of, if you're one of the best wrestlers, you should come here. If you're someone developing, I don't know if this is the right company for you.
Yeah, I do see it in that side of things. You need like more development and stuff like that. And Hook is a good wrestler, so he has like one part down. I think he still needs to. The talking hasn't been as bad for like what he's about. But I do agree with like the whole developmental thing. I think the biggest factor of him leaving would be his dad, because like Taz isn't exactly on the best terms with WWE, and I think that'll probably be the bigger factor of what he would think. Hey, what should I do? And I think he'll give him like his advice. I don't think Taz will hold him back.
No.
But I think Taz will give him the best advice of like, hey, if you feel you need to do this, then do it. I think Taz is going to be the biggest factor when that happens.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it just seems like WWE and NXT would be the right move for him. I don't know what this comment is about, Bell. Bell says that Roman line is now, if you saw his doc or his presser on Saturday, that he's dealing with his cancer and may need to take his chemo meds for the rest of his fucking life. Yeah, I did watch his doc. No, I didn't watch his doc because that's WWE nonsense. I'm not going to watch that shit. I did watch his presser on Saturday, and I don't know what your comment has to do with what I said. What I said was Roman Reigns working a part-time schedule. It was a joke talking about how hypocritical Triple H's comment was. It had nothing to do with Roman's condition.
Yeah, and we also said that we weren't really against Roman having a part-time scheduling. We were like, hey, he's put in the work and he deserves it.
Yeah, he literally just said that right after I said the obvious joking comment. Bell, got to realize that a lot of the things we say on here is said in jest.
I don't know. I don't know what to say to that one, to be honest with you.
AEW Rampage last night. The show featured Jay White defeating Matt Sydal in a good main event. Meanwhile, you had Orange Cassidy beat Alex Reynolds. Post-match, Renee Paquette attempted to get a word with Orange when Trent Beretta came out, but so did Chuck Taylor, who looked like he was going to turn on Cassidy before he stepped up to stop Trent from entering the ring. Zach Knight picked up the victory over Cool Hand Angelo Parker in a decent grudge match, while Julia Hart beat Layla Hirsch to retain the TBS championship, but she did not walk away unscathed. We'll get to that in a bit. Meanwhile, Collision last Saturday came on after WrestleMania Night 1. It featured FTR defeating Top Flight in a fun opener to advance in the AEW World Tag Team Title Tournament Finals against the Young Bucks at AEW Dynasty. Lion Hook beat Shane Taylor Promotions. Post-match, Anthony Ogogo made his return to AEW television, joining the Shane Taylor Promotions. Speaking of returning, Yuka Sakazaki also made her return to defeat Trish Adora in a solid affair, and Penta El Zero Mero beat Commander in a good, fast-paced main event. But AEW had some big news this week as they announced their full pay-per-view schedule for 2024, Josh. All Elite Wrestling announced that their remaining pay-per-view dates for 2024 include Forbidden Door, All Out, and more. We got Dynasty coming up next Sunday in St. Louis on April 21st, Double or Nothing in Las Vegas on May 26th. Forbidden Door will be on June 30th from Long Island, New York, the UBS Arena. Sunday, August 25th, of course, All In Wembley Stadium. Sunday, September 1st, 1 week later, is AEW All Out in Chicago. AEW Wrestle Dream will once again take place in Washington, this time in Tacoma. And Saturday, November 23rd, we'll see Full Gear at Prudential Center in Newark. And Saturday, December 28th, AEW World's End in Orlando, Florida. PW Insider also reports that even though Forbidden Door was moved to the UBS Arena in Long Island, there are still plans for AEW to return to Arthur Ashe Stadium. Earlier, a couple of weeks ago, it was reported that Forbidden Door could possibly take place at the arena, but it will likely be a TV taping this year in the fall. As for Forbidden Door, the plan is to use NJPW, Stardom, and CMLL wrestlers, and PW Insider also reports that while they weren't announced on the same date as the AEW pay-per-views, ROH will also have other pay-per-views in 2024, which will be the most pay-per-views Tony Khan has ever produced between AEW and ROH in 2024 this year. What do you think about the pay-per-view schedule? I like the fact they announced it so early to help people make plans for the rest of the year.
Same. I like the fact that it's back in New York. I mean, we're getting a pay-per-view for New York. USB Center, selfishly, it's closer to me than that dump in Nassau Coliseum. So I'm happy about that. So most likely I'm going to that one.
That's good. That's good. I might think about Newark. I don't know about Long Island. That's a long trip for my ass.
Well, it depends because it's actually, again, if you take the LIR, it's actually not too bad. If you take it from Atlantic to Jamaica, it's literally like one stop from Jamaica. So it's not as bad.
No. Bell, 100% understand everyone in the chat has their triggers, but you kind of made a comment or a joke that I made about something totally that it wasn't about. So I understand that maybe, some topics that we talk about can trigger some people, but please don't misconstrue my words. That's what I felt like your comment was doing, or making my words about something it was not about at all.
None of us did that. I mean, I understand. We always try to understand what others are going through, whatever the case may be, because we're not going through that. So we always do our best to try to understand. When it comes to the Roman thing, it was more of a joke of not Roman. It was more of a joke to Triple H.
Triple H comment about being on the grind and schedule. So why do you have people under contract that have part-time schedules? That's what that was about. It had nothing to do with Roman. Brought up Roman because he has a part-time schedule and is contracted by Triple H, who made a comment about the grind. That's all.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's like, hey, we're not against Roman. I just want to make that clear.
We are definitely not against. We're the biggest channel in support of Roman most of the time. Fightful Select reports AEW announcing Wrestle Dream in Tacoma, Washington. Some have wondered that if it could be where Bryan Danielson's retirement match happens. There's currently no plans for that as of this time. Danielson has already said this will be his last year as a full-time wrestler. And speaking of Julia Hart, like we said earlier, she suffered an injury during that match on Rampage last night. Hart had her shoulder taped up and was slammed during the matchup before going to the floor. Hirsch then hit a dive and Hart went down. She was thrown back into the ring and then went to the corner and sat against the turnbuckle, speaking to the referee. Hirsch got back into the ring and they immediately went to an abrupt finish with Hart pinning Hirsch in a small package. Hart was then helped backstage after the match, and there's no word on her status at this time. It did look bad because she went. It was so awkward, the finish. She just does a small package. I was like, when the fuck has Julia Hart won with a small package? Like, she either hits the moonsault, she does the Heartless. The small package threw me off. And then the post-match, when the referee tries to raise her shoulder or raise her arm with the tape, she says, no. And I was like, oh no, I hope she's okay. So reading this report this morning and added it to our agenda, I was like, not surprised.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Because she got injured not so long ago, and then now it's happening again. So
yeah,
unfortunate.
It sucks. It really sucks. But let's finish up the converse with ROH Supercard of Honor, which was last Friday, and of course the show featured Mark Briscoe defeating Eddie Kingston in a terrific main event to win the Ring of Honor World Championship 11 years to the day that his brother Jay did it. Post-match, we saw an emotional celebration with the Briscoe family in the ring, Mark and Eddie embracing. We also had Athena beat Hikaru Shida in an excellent bout to retain the ROH Women's World Championship. Billy Starks became the first ever ROH Women's TV Champion in a hard-hitting physical battle with Queen Amanada, which had a fake injury finish that I absolutely loved. Kyle Fletcher defeated Lee Johnson in an awesome opener to retain the ROH World Television Championship. Stardom's Mina Shirakawa, Mei Sera, and Maika defeated Saya Kamatani, Azumi, and Tam Nakano in a super fun trios matchup. Undisputed Kingdom beat the Infantry to retain the ROH World Tag Team titles. Meanwhile, we had a surprise appearance from Bullet Club Gold's Jay White and the Guns, who defeated Minoru Suzuki, Lance Archer, and Alex Zane to retain the ROH World Six-Man Tag Team titles. Any thoughts, any comments on ROH Supercard of Honor, Mark Briscoe being crowned? You love to see it. That was one of the best moments, non-WWE moments of WrestleMania weekend.
It was. I was happy about it. Yeah. When it comes to Mark, it's such a different level because we all know what he had to go through throughout the year. It's easy not, it's easy losing it's not easy losing a family member. But to his extent, like what we've seen both guys have done over the years, and then for the way Jay lost his life, it's one of those things where, like sometimes you just never know what could happen. You never, like, things could change like that, but to Mark's credit, he kept going. And I think that speaks to itself of how strong that man is, because within less than a month, he came back, he main evented a match.
1 week later.
Or 1 week later, even less. Look at that.
1 week later. That was when the Jay Lethal match happened on Dynamite.
And it was a great match. So, I mean, it was like, it goes to show you how, that dude he's a tough motherfucker. Like, so I appreciate it. He got that moment. It was a great match too. So I was happy about that. It was a banger match.
It was just hard hitting, physical. Once Mark started bleeding, Eddie started becoming more of a heel, and it made me miss heel Eddie Kingston. I was saying during the match, I was like, this is the Eddie Kingston I fell in love with when he first came to AEW. But I thought Athena and Hikaru Shida was a great matchup as well.
That one too. Yeah,
the final two matches were the best two matches on the show, in my opinion.
Yeah. Because even with the whole thing with Mark too, like what I'm impressed with was like how good of a singles wrestler he really is. Because we always knew that Jay was great, but Mark, like, he's really onto his own. With Athena, it's funny because I think on the odds she was like a plus. She was a plus on the odds for losing her title. I was like, who the fuck did this? Because I didn't see Shida winning, and that was a great match too. And then the turn with her protege, that was funny.
Oh my God, that fake injury was so great because Billy's face at the end, where she's choking out Amanada, and she goes with the neck brace. I was like, I love her. I love her so much.
That was like such bullshit because they put on a neck brace, but yeah, they're carrying her out. So
I was like,
something
what?
was like,
I was like, wait, the bell hasn't rung. I was like, all right, I'm not falling for this. I'm not falling for this. But the way they shot it was a thumbs up for me as far as like, Tony Khan and the production team. They did a really good job of shooting it and making it believable.
Yeah, and then making her like go just full blown out heel. I thought that was great. Did you see that segment too with her parent, like her mom?
Yes,
like, I did it.
yes. You didn't do it the audible way.
Like this.
And then Athena's like, yay, yeah, you did it. I'm your new mom now.
Yeah. That was great.
And I love shout out to Mouse because I know you've probably seen Mouse at shows in the past and stuff. Shout out to Mouse because he was featured in the segment, and he's totally cool with Billy being a jerk.
That's what makes it funny. He was just like, oh, what? Like he was just like there. And no, but like I would like hopefully like they when it comes to like using them in AEW and like I think they'll do some great shit, Billy and Athena. Like so patiently waiting to see what they do. But those ladies, they've been doing some great stuff. I just wish people would see it more.
Absolutely agree. But let's go over to Japan and Chicago because we got to talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling. Last Saturday, you had NJPW Sakura Genesis, Tetsuya Naito defeating Yota Tsuji in a great main event matchup to retain the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship to set up Naito and Moxley in Chicago. You also had Shingo Takagi beat Evil to win the Never Openweight Championship. Post-match, it was Gabe Kidd of the Bullet Club War Dogs who came out, laid out Shingo, and cut a scathing promo on New Japan, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Tony Khan, Jack Perry, Nick Nemeth, and Matt Riddle, saying that Hiroshi Tanahashi pulls his pants down and bends over for Tony Khan anytime he wants. He also challenged Takagi for the Never Openweight Championship. Meanwhile, the Bullet Club War Dogs retain the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles in a win over the Intergalactic Jet Setters and Catch 2-2, and was a very fun three-way tag team matchup. But the world is still buzzing. The wrestling world is still talking about last night, NJPW Sakura Genesis 2024, where it happened. Gato fucked over Naito again. With this. We've been dealing with this shit for 7 fucking years now. Why does he always do this to Naito? Naito can't defend the title 3 times? He's the 3 limit. He always gets the V2 and he always fucking loses. Jesus. NJPW, Windy City Riot, the show featured Jon Moxley defeating Tetsuya Naito to win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, making history by becoming the first man to win the WWE, AEW, and IWGP World Heavyweight Championships. Post-match, Moxley looked like he was about to challenge Shota Umino for a title matchup as his first opponent, but instead he got the House of Torture's Ren Narita, who attacked Mox to set up his first challenger. Speaking of Shooter, though, he put on one of the best matches of his career as he beat Jack Perry in a tremendous bout with an electric atmosphere in Chicago, with Jack Perry getting a massive reaction throughout the matchup. Post-match, Jack Perry shook hands with Shota Umino, showing him respect, but then flipping off Chicago. Zack Sabre Jr. put on a brilliant technical wrestling clinic with Matt Riddle, which saw Zack Sabre Jr. win and regain the NJPW World Television Championship. Nick Nemeth put on arguably the best match since his exit from WWE as he beat Tomohiro Ishii. Speaking of people exiting WWE, Mustafa Ali was in Chicago putting on a banger with Hiromu Takahashi. Ren Narita picked up a victory over his former mentor, Minoru Suzuki, in the opener. TMDK became the new NJPW Strong Openweight Tag Team Champions, getting the win in a 4-way over the Gorillas of Destiny, West Coast Wrecking Crew, Tom Lawler, and Fred Rosser. And then finally, Stephanie Becker defeated Azumi in a very good encounter to retain the NJPW Strong Women's Championship. A hell of a noteworthy show from the Windy City Riot. What was your thoughts on Jon Moxley winning the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship?
I was shocked as fuck because I was like, like they're really giving their top title to an AEW talent. So it was shocking. As much as I'm happy for Moxley because I think he deserves it, it's on the expense of Naito. Like, why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's mixed for me. It's like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? But besides that, I mean, it felt like it was a good show.
It was a very good show.
I got to watch, because what happened was that I didn't see the last 2 matches, so I went back this morning to watch them. Really good, really. And the title match was a good match, and that's why I was so shocked that they gave it to Mox. The Jack Perry match, though, like, not only was a great match, but the fucking crowd, like, they were really into it. That really, to me, elevated the match itself.
Yeah, I agree.
And I like the fact that Jack's fuckery in the match cost him the match.
He kept trying to do when he went for the go to sleep. That's when he fucked up.
Yeah, and I like it. Like, that shit was hilarious. That's some good shit. Because I always because there was a scenario where I think Shooter was going to lose because he already lost. He already lost, so he wasn't going to lose again. But I like the fact that was basically the factor of like him fucking around, playing to the crowd, and that's the loss. I actually like that.
I agree. Really good stuff on Windy City Riot for sure. We got Safet who says Naito got screwed by Gato. Just never fails. Like, and I don't think it's the best. And this is coming from someone who I've said it in the past. I'll say it a million times. My number one promotion is NJPW. It's New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I don't like the fact that it does put kind of a perception feeling of your number 2 to AEW, in that you had all your top gaijins go there, and then you basically have one top star and he lost to a top guy from the same company. I'm sorry, like, perception wise, I don't know if Shota Umino eventually beating Moxley for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship is going to change the perspective, the perception, when you have that in close vicinity of Ospreay leaves, goes to AEW. Okada leaves, go to AEW. Only one guy left, Naito, he loses to an AEW guy. Like, that's 3 back-to-back things that said, okay, you are firmly number 2 to this promotion that you have been alive as a promotion for 50 years, playing number 2 to a promotion that's been in existence for 5. That's wild.
Yeah. And then to me, it's where did he go from here? Like, how long does Mox stay champion? Like, does he even go to Forbidden Door as champion? That'd be kind of weird.
I think they have to. They have to at least. He has to at least, like, if you're gonna do the title change or whatever they're gonna do, whatever the plan is, he at least has to get to like Dominion or Forbidden Door.
Yeah, because Dominion is in what, June or July?
It's June 9th. It's June basically 9th.
Also, it's before. Also, it's way before Forbidden Door.
It's 3 weeks before Forbidden Door.
Yeah, like, oh, I don't know what you do. Yeah, I don't know. Like, that makes it interesting. As much as it's cool to see Mox as a champion, it's just, what do we go from here?
Yeah, like, I mean, I think they kind of laid it out that it's gonna probably be Shooter that is the one to beat him.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Like, you know, you're basically your ancestor to, you know, that's a cool storyline in my opinion. You could pull off and have him finally get his moment, because he did beat the shit out of him the very first match that's what became like his what do you call that?
Yeah, that's how he became his young boy. Yeah. Beat the shit out of him. And I would love it for them to do it at Dominion, because that's 5 years from that first matchup.
Yeah, I think it should be Dominion, in my opinion. Yeah. It should be Dominion.
Because I feel you tease it now. It feels like Ren Narita's probably going to get the shot at Resurgence, and then after that, he's done with Narita.
Which is fine. Yeah.
Do the challenge from Shooter to set up Dominion.
Yeah, which is fine. I think you just have that bum lose and then just follow that.
Exactly. It's fine. It's fine. We don't need a long program with mini Shibata. We got Steven Chambers who says, wouldn't mind seeing Mox versus Zack Sabre Jr. I wouldn't mind that either, but Zack should have been the one to beat Naito for the title. If you're gonna have a Gaijin beat Naito for the title, it should have been Zack. Should have been a guy you have under contract.
Yeah, it should have been Zack, unless if they're gonna prolong that. I don't know how long more. He should have been champion in my opinion already. But
because putting the TV title back on him feels very much like Orange Cassidy second reign of international champion.
Yeah, honestly, it feels like I don't know. Like,
it just feels like they were scared to pull the trigger on him being a main eventer, and it was like, all right, you got to do something. Let's just put the TV title back on.
But Zack is great. That's the thing. Like, I'm like, he's great on the mic. He gets heat. Like, what the fuck? Like,
he teased going after the world title after he beat Danielson. You're like, you got nothing out of him beating Danielson. Nothing. How does he beat Danielson and he goes right back to what he was doing before he beat Danielson?
And then now on top of that, the part we didn't mention was that he beat Riddle and Riddle no-sold him after the match.
Yes, he just walked the fuck out. He just walked to the back. I don't think Riddle's gonna be. I don't know if he's gonna be doing too many more New Japan shows because he did kind of no-sell that shit.
That was
It was awkward. It was kind of awkward. We do have a super chat donation from the good brother Will Chisholm. Thank you so much, Will. As always, he says, is NJPW now third behind CMLL and Stardom when it comes to Forbidden Door? Nah, they're still second. Just don't get too out of hand with it. They're still second in that Forbidden Door thing, in the Forbidden Door section. Stardom would be 2, and then CMLL 3 or 4.
Yeah, because New Japan, they are like splitting the costs with AEW. Yeah. So as long as you're putting in a lot of more money, you're not gonna be third to any of those two.
Word. Yeah, it is kind of a monkey's paw. I won't lie. Big Man does with the whole Riddle's title reign ends, but you got to have Zack have the title back. It's like a monkey's paw. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
That's like, but it's like at this point, it's like, bro, he had the belt for a long ass time. He just like. I don't need to see that.
I would have put it on Cobb, especially if Cobb's going to be the first challenger for Zack, and that was his main rival of his first reign. You should have had Cobb beat Riddle. They have history together.
Oh my god! You see, like that making my head hurt now. Like even thinking about it, it's like, what the fuck?
New Japan Pro Wrestling also confirmed this week the lineup for this year's Best of Super Junior tournament. Best of Super Juniors 31. The tournament kicks off on May 11th. It will end at Dominion for the first time ever, and it will feature 4 wrestlers competing in the mini tournament for the semifinals and finals. You have Sho, the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, Hiromu Takahashi, 4-time winner, Ryosuke Taguchi, who won in 2012, El Desperado, Kevin Knight, Yo, Bushi, Teton, TJP, Francisco Akira, Doki, Robbie Eagles, Taiji Ishimori, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Clark Connors, Drilla Maloney, and the debuting stars of Kosei Fujita of TMDK, Blake Christian of AEW, ROH, and GCW, Ninja Mac of Pro Wrestling Noah, and Hayata of Pro Wrestling Noah. What do you think?
Some good names. I want to also add that Mustafa Ali was pissed off that he was not in the tournament, and that was a great promo that he cut, shitting on them.
He should shit on them because that's what I said when the Best of Super Juniors was. I was like, "Where's Ali?" I thought that the match in Chicago would set up him being in the Best of Super Juniors.
Yeah, I think when it comes to that, I think they're dropping the ball. At least I don't think he was going to win it, but to have him, I think that would have done significance for it.
And like the no Speedball also disappoints me because Speedball was one of the MVPs last year.
Yeah, unless it has to do with scheduling, that's also a factor as well. So again, but great promo by Ali, shutting on them for it.
But you have to also take into account, and I've said this with Ali, and I'll say the same thing with Speedball, is that these are guys that work everywhere. So they could be getting, in the 3 weeks that they do the tournament, they could get money from Impact. They could get money from A promotion, B promotion, C promotion, D promotion. And all of that is going to be more than what New Japan is offering them to do the best of Super.
Yeah, that could be a factor too. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like I just remembered that. So it is what it is. Sounds like it's going to be a fun tournament. Hopefully it is.
My pick, my early pick, TJP, because of the whole story with United Empire and United Empire members, because ever since Will left, TJP's been saying that he wants to be the leader, the captain of United Empire. He wants to do all these different tournaments. He wants to be a heavyweight. He wants to be a junior heavyweight. And Jeff Cobb and Great O'Connor basically like, okay, cool, you want to be the leader, but you haven't done shit. You have to do something. You have to bring gold, bring treasures to United Empire if you want to be the leader. So I think that's the best of Super Juniors.
I actually like that, even though I'm very mixed about him personally. I've always had great interactions with him, but he's kind of a dick in person. So,
me and him get along because we talked about Lakers before on Twitter before. But
yeah.
But we got our final thing, what we missed, TNA Impact. The show featured PCO beating Khan in a Monsters Ball match. You also had Moose pick up the win over Trent Seven. AJ Francis and Rich Swann, the tag team known as First Class, beat former Impact TNA World Tag Team Champions, the ABC. Meanwhile, Crazy Steve defeated Laredo Kid via DQ to retain the TNA Digital Media Championship. And the show kicked off with Josh Alexander and Alexander Hammerstone getting into a huge brawl, leading to Tommy Dreamer coming out to try to settle things between both men, talking about how he got Hammerstone the job here and that Hammerstone needs to do things the right way like Josh did. This only led to Hammerstone attacking and putting Tommy Dreamer in a torture rack and Josh Alexander having to make the save. So really good build up for the Hammerstone Alexander matchup on the show. And they're building towards Rebellion, which is next Saturday. So right here on the show next Saturday, we're going to be previewing Dynasty and Impact. TNA, Rebellion. I'm still getting used to calling it TNA again.
I'm about to say the same thing.
So I gotta say it over and over and over again before I get used to it. But it is about that time for Chrissy Love's favorite time of the show, match of the week. And it was WrestleMania week, so the option is open for 10 matches, 5 matches, 3 matches, however you want to swing it, however you want to do it. I think I'm going to go in the reverse this time. I think I'm going to start with my number 1. We'll see how many I give this week. But number 1 for me, the match of the week is, of course, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 40 Night 2, one of the best WrestleMania main events of all time. And it was just perfect. It was everything that I've been talking about for the last few months on this show of what I wanted that match to be. And it was that. So that was 5 stars. That's my match of the week. Number 2, Sammy versus Gunther. So close to being a 5-star matchup. This was the one match during WrestleMania, both nights, where I was like, if you add 5 more minutes to that, that's a perfect matchup. That's Sammy and Gunther. Number 3 for me, Bayley and Io. Best women's matchup that I saw all WrestleMania weekend. Number 4 for me, Oba Femi versus Dijak versus Josh Briggs from NXT Stand and Deliver. Go out of your way to see that because I've never seen big men have that type of matchup. 3 big men having like balls to the wall, all action, big moves, big spots like that. Go out of your way to watch that. Number 5, Mark Briscoe versus Eddie Kingston, ROH Supercard of Honor. Just a great moment. So much meaning to me as a longtime ROH and Briscoe fan. Number 6, Hikaru Shida versus Athena from ROH Supercard of Honor. Probably second best women's match I saw all weekend. Number 7, Night 1 main event, Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth. Just sports entertainment bananasness there. That was just all sports entertainment for 45 minutes. Just a spectacle, all of that in one. That's number 7. Number 8 for me, Logan Paul, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton from Night 2 WrestleMania. Great triple threat. Number 9 for me, I'll actually go with Micah versus Megan Bain from Stardom American Dream. That was a great matchup. I actually watched that late in the week after Tru Heel Heat last week, but I had to include that here. And then finally for me, Jon Moxley, Tetsuya Naito from last night's NJPW Windy City Riot.
Wow, that's good. A lot of good matches. Holy shit. I mean, that was good.
I didn't include a lot of great matches that I saw this week. Rhea and Becky was great. The ladder match on night 1 was great, but those were the matches that stood out the most for me WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with a top 5. Number 5. Number 5. I'll go with Jack versus Shota. I thought that was an entertaining spectacle that I didn't expect it. That's more so why I'm picking the match, but it was a good match too. Number 3, Briscoe versus Eddie Kingston.
Number 4.
Number 4. My bad. Number 4. Yeah, I'll keep it with number 4. Number 3. I'm trying to think. Number 3. I'm gonna go with Bayley versus Io. Both ladies absolutely killed it. Number 2. Sammy versus Gunther. I thought it was a best worked match. Of WrestleMania weekend. I thought that was the best worked match, if that's what I'm leaning with. And then number 1, Cody versus Roman. Like I said before, that the fact that they had time, they gave them 20 minutes before the shenanigans, and I felt like that really made the match up. I think if they would have, like I said before, if they would have gone 5 minutes in and that would have happened to me, that would have been like, oh, this match is booty.
Oh, this match is booty. I love it. We got Eric Isaacs in the chat. It says match of the week, Cody versus Roman, night 2, WrestleMania 40, followed by Bayley versus Io, Trick versus Mullo, Roxy versus Lyra. That was really good. Rock and Roman versus Seth and Cody, and Sammy versus Gunther. The only one I disagree with out of that whole pile of matches is Trick and Mello. Trick and Mello was fucking disappointing. It was fucking disappointing because they overbooked it.
Yeah, I went to watch it because I was like wondering myself, like, oh, I'm not hearing good stuff about the match. And when I actually saw it, I could see why. Match was overbooked for no fucking, it didn't need to be overbooked the way that it was for no reason. I think the ref bumps were a little too much in my opinion.
Two ref bumps for what? For what? Yeah. For 2 ref bumps in a matchup that most of us thought should have been no DQ. So it's like, why?
Yeah, that wasn't a good match at all. I mean, for
I
actually
thought it was a good match, but it's not a takeover main event matchup. No.
Yeah, I think that's more so what I'm saying. Like, and on those standards, but especially this build up, like you had to build up for this long, and that's what you do is like, oh, okay. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Trick and Mello, you did better than Jay and Jimmy. The very least. Yeah. So. I'll give them that. That's not saying much. I'll give them that.
Not saying much at all, but hey, I'll give them credit where credit's due. Stephen Chambers saying number 5 for him, Oba versus Briggs versus Dijak. Yo, the electric chair spot, that's the spot of WrestleMania weekend for me.
It is.
And there was great spots throughout, but that one spot with Obafemi is someone on the preview to Stand and Deliver. I was talking to Corey Brenner and I was saying he's the guy I think should beat Dijak for this title. Like that's how confident I am in Obafemi. And all that match did was like, oh, now he has a great match under his resume too. We're off to the races.
I think Dijak too, like that, he puts on great fucking matches too. And I think, man, you got to throw him a bone sometime, man. Like, yo, he's good. He's too good sometimes.
But he's too honest on social media. Did you see him this week saying that you fans are going to turn on Cody? And I know it. I love him. I love Dijak. Dijak don't give a fuck. I love it. We got Steven who says number 4, Kingston versus Briscoe. Number 3, Bailey versus EO. Number 2, Sammy versus Gunther. And number 1, Roman versus Cody. We got Bell who said, I put Ilya versus Tony D over Trick versus What? You're not gonna get any argument for me. That was a really great match. That's the best I ever seen Tony D. That's Tony D's best matchup. Like you ain't getting no argument. And yeah, it is kind of sad because we were all looking forward to Trick and Mello, but that's on the booking. That's nothing to do with the guys. That's not me criticizing Trick and Mello because I think they had a good matchup, but the booking stopped it from being a great matchup.
Yeah, and then Tony D. I mean, I've never been too fond of like the fake Italian accent thing, but it was when from the highlights, I was like, oh shit, this looked like it was a fun matchup. Better than Mello and Trick, I'll tell you that much.
1000% there. And then we also got Jason Curry says Dijak and Drew are doing some of the best promo work right now. Dijak's been stepping up. He's getting more promo time, that's for sure. We also got, I don't think I read this one, these super chat donations. Sorry, just catching up on the super chats before we sign off here. We got Bell in the chat who says, I agree with you. I'm just said to the uneducated Twitter people, I get you though. And DJ, new tribal chief. Yeah, we on the same page, Bell. You're one of the loyal people in the chat. I've been seeing you for years, so you know we on the same page. That's why we had to ease the tension if you had any confusion on what I was saying. But I appreciate you, and I agree with you. The Rock is the real tribal chief Tama was talking about.
I like it. I love it. I love it.
Will Chisholm says, Triple H, thank you, Will, for the super chat. He said, Triple H saw that match and was like, Jesus, I need to get the Usos back together real quick. Dude, when I saw the Bloodline turn on Jimmy, I was like, oh, shit. They said, abort. They said, abort this shit. They said, send Jimmy back to Jay. Get this shit over.
You know what's funny? You know, it's funny. Like I was talking shit last night about it, and I was just like, "Yo, like Jimmy got kicked out of his family. Guess what? Because of the terrible matchup, Jay can't kick out of anything because he got no family. Not for him."
Poor Jay now. Super Chisholm from I read that one. Super Chisholm from Chuck Berries. Thank you, Chuck Berries, for the big super chats and all the super chats today. He says this debacle just showed me TK's lack of leadership and his extreme level of marksmanship. He does show signs of not being a leader. That's for sure. And we've criticized him enough for his lack of putting his foot down and being a boss in the fallout to brawl out, in the fallout to brawl in. And this week with the decision, he showed a lack of keen decision making and a lack of somebody in AEW to be like, but this is the other side of it. It doesn't seem like there's anyone that has his ear that says, okay, this is why your decision is wrong.
He needs he needs like an advisor or somebody. Like he needs like a second person. I think he really needs that to really to work on that.
I agree. But thank you so much, guys, for all the super chats. We made this a long one for you because we had to cover everything from WrestleMania week. But thank you, Drew Josh, for joining me as always. Let everybody know where they can follow you, sir.
You go follow me, JMPunk321, Twitter and Instagram. I'll be back on Wednesday for Elite Heat, the go home show, right? For Dynasty. That's what it is, right? Yeah. So I'll be on for that. And then also I have some artist appearances coming up. When it gets closer, I'll promote that as well. The main one though will be in June, Brooklyn Comic-Con. They're going to be doing some wrestling stuff there as well. So I'll so the next couple of weeks I'll definitely be promoting that more as well.
Be on the lookout for that. Josh will be back on Wednesday. I am on YouTube pretty much every day. I'm stuck in YouTube. I'm in YouTube prison, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't think I've had a day off from being on YouTube since like 2 Saturdays ago. But I'm gonna get a day off. I promise y'all that. Might not be this week, might not be next week, because Dynasty. God damn it, will the wrestling stop? But you can follow me at Tru Heel SB3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Tru Heel Heat, patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. $3 a month gets you exclusive content, the Tru Heel Heat Prediction Championship, and more. And of course, check out all the great content we got on this channel right now, like AEW Ramble from this week, Elite Heat from this week. Check out our WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2 reviews. And of course, join us over on the Tru Heel Heat Sports and Entertainment channel. We'll be going live, I believe, tomorrow for our X-Men 97 reviews. And I'll be back here tomorrow on the main channel for our NJPW Windy City Riot review, talking all about Jon Moxley, your new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. For Josh, for our producer, Baby Seth in the back, thank you so much to all of you, so much. Whether you like, whether you comment, whether you're in the live chat, send a super chat, share the video. We appreciate y'all. We wouldn't be able to do this or even make any money off of this if it wasn't for all of y'all. So always want to thank y'all and show y'all support. Drop the thumbs up, comment down below, and we'll see you on the next one. This has been Tru Heel Heat 272. Perception War Misfire. We are signing off until next time. Later, y'all.